What up? What up? What up? Welcome to another episode of the Sports PSP podcast. I am your host, Sports PSP. Hope everyone's enjoying a fantastic day, coming off work, school, whatever the case may be. Unfortunately, one of our panel members, BRF Sports, shout out to the great BRF, he has to take care of some family things. We understand that. After all, it's been a few weeks since school has been back. So, BRF, man, miss you, brother. Keep doing your thing, man. Oh, shout out to Dwayne who's checking out the Sports PSP podcast, man. Sup, brother? How are you? And of course, we cannot do the Sports PSP podcast without my main man, Columbus, Georgia's own, the four-time college degree champion, the military man and veteran, the Al Roker of journalism, the young Charles Barkley, the Black Peter Griffin, funny, laughable, the whole nine, brilliant when it comes to sports, business, technology, culture. I mean, he's all that and a bag of chips. Mama Champ's number one favorite son, undisputed world champ. How you doing, big fella?
You're not gonna bid again. You're not gonna get a better damn introduction than that. That is that's equivalent to Rocky IV, Apollo Creed.
Yes.
When they introduced every nickname that he had before he fought Ivan Drago. Yeah, that's a good one, man. Hey, man, look, let's focus that attention to get the flowers where they need to be sent, man. 130K. 130K. That's all I got to say, man. 130K.
Well, shout out to a lot of great people who helped me along the way. You most definitely. Shout out to Mama PSP. I saw the stories of you giving love to Mama PSP as always. Shout out to the great Mama PSP. Shout out to the great Angie. And also shout out to a great woman that we know and love, D.
Yes,
love
indeed.
ourselves some D. And hope to see you soon, sister. Love you. And also shout out to JoJo and Nessa as well. I gave them a shout out a couple of weeks ago or last week. Shout out to them. They know they're wrestling. So y'all interested in wrestling, ladies, check them out. So, and of course, shout out to Trail and Mr. Watson from the Sports for You podcast as well. Please go like and subscribe to their content, especially their wrestling, because WrestlePalooza, big event. Stay tuned for that, man. But big fella, I want to talk about last night's game between the Miami Dolphins and Buffalo Bills. The Bills won this one 31-21. Josh Allen, efficient. 22 of 28, 213 yards, 3 touchdowns, only sacked twice. James Cook, when he gets rolling like this, 19 for a $108 and 1 TD. I mean, when the Bills play like this, champ, offensively, with Josh Allen not having to do an enormous much and play this efficiently. Meanwhile, James Cook running. And they're doing this without Stephon Diggs, proving that Josh Allen can thrive and succeed without him. I love with this offense. What are your thoughts on the game?
Number one, man, let James cook. Let that Georgia Bulldog cook. Let him cook. My thing is, look, Josh Allen is 30 years old. Try to take as much off of his plate as you can. That's why you paid James Cook. Let him get the ball 19, 20, maybe even 25, maybe even 30 times. Let him cook. So and especially if the running game is going, you don't have to use Josh Allen as much. Hey, you paid him, make him earn his money. We paid you. We gave you a big, huge contract. You held out. You raised a lot of cane about it, and rightfully so. But now that we paid you, we going to use you. And I think they should use them like they paid him. Hey, I would not have any problem this year if James Cook rushed for over 1,900 yards and they gave him the ball over 300 times. I would not have a problem with that. Take as much off of Josh Allen as you can. Especially, I know he's still in his prime. But the thing is, you do not want him to be taking a beating like that anymore. I don't want to be running him every play. He's a quarterback. He's not a doggone running back. I know he's mobile. I know he's able to run. But guess what? When your quarterback is end all, be all, because at one point, Josh Allen was the running game, the passing game. And you might as well just put him everywhere because he was doing it all. But now that you have a back that you know that you can depend on, that can get you 100 yards, second consecutive 100-yard game, go ahead and use him like you know you can. Go ahead and give him 300 carries. I understand that we want to see Josh Allen win another MVP, and that's all fine and well. But the goal is to get to the Super Bowl and get rid of that stigma on the Bills. The Bills, when I was a kid, meant one thing. Boy, I love losing Super Bowls. And they're trying to get rid of that. And if you can get rid of that by giving James Cook the ball so that Josh Allen doesn't always have to be the hero, you should do that. Like I said, they gave John Elway, who was playing hero ball for years with the Denver Broncos, Terrell Davis. When they gave him Terrell Davis, that team got progressively better. The team got progressively better. Remember, in his first year, they was very good. It was darn good. So if you could take a lot off of Josh Allen's plate by giving James Cook the ball a little bit more, then you should. Like I stated earlier, I know Josh Allen's in his prime. I know he's not as old as John Elway was when he was winning Super Bowls. But once you give a quarterback, somebody that can pound that ball and just drive it, then guess what? Go ahead and utilize that. That way you can get the play action going. You can get a lot of things going when you have a great running back like a James Cook. Like I said, I'm not the stage where John Elway was and where Josh Allen is are two different stages in their career. Let me be clear about that. But when you give a quarterback an asset like a great running back, like a James Cook, like a Terrell Davis in John Elway's case, that takes a lot more pressure off of them. And guess what? When they're focused on that, look, you saw it. When they focus, the reason my Atlanta Falcons lost that Super Bowl when we played John Elway is because everybody was focused on Terrell Davis. We was focusing on taking away the running game. And we said, okay, we got a better chance of letting John Elway beat us than, just letting Terrell Davis just run roughshod over us. And that's what happens when you have a great running back. The focus, they start putting 9, 10 in the box. They start bringing up them safeties, and then you can start beating them over the top. It's basic fundamentals. So give James Cook that ball. Take as much off of Josh Allen as you can. Josh Allen is still going to be Josh Allen no matter what situation he's in. He's a league MVP, the reigning league MVP. And guess what? When you need him to be in those high usage situations, you know he can be there. But at this moment, take him out of those situations. Let James Cook get that ball 20, 30 times a game, 20, 25 times a game. Hell, if he's on a roll like that, 30 if you can help it. And throughout Bills history, their running backs have been used. Jeff Kemp used the late, great O.J. Simpson.
Travis Henry.
They used Travis Henry. They used LaShawn McCoy. Another prime example, Jim Kelly, as great as he was, he used the great Thurman Thomas the way he was supposed to use it. He balanced the pass and he balanced the run in the K-Gun offense. Afford Josh Allen that same luxury that a lot of other great quarterbacks have. Jalen Hurts have the luxury of sitting back and saying, hey, I ain't got to play hero ball. Give the great running back that I have the ball 30 times and let's see what happens. Lamar Jackson has that luxury. Let me go ahead and get a running back the ball 30 times and see what he do for the rest of the game. Let him close out the game when it matters the most, rather than putting the ball in my hand and us still trying to chuck it down the field. Jared Goff, Sonic and Knuckles, they have that luxury. Let Josh Allen have those same luxuries.
Or Brock Purdy with Christian McCaffrey when healthy.
Yes, and now Brian Robinson Jr. Those quarterbacks have the luxury of saying, let's hand that quarterback the ball. Let's hand the running back the ball a few times, 20, 30 times a game and say, hey, if you on a roll, let's keep you rolling. They have that luxury. Now that Josh Allen has that, afford him that luxury as well. because we don't say nothing when the other players do it. We know what Josh Allen is. He's been an MVP of this league, and he's been playing a lot of hero ball. At one point, his usage was the highest of anybody in league history, 85, 90%. So we know what he can do. Now that he has the luxury and you pay the running back position, that being James Cook, that amount of money, go ahead and give him the same luxury that Jalen Hurts is given, that Lamar Jackson is given, that Jared Goff is given. Give him the luxury of saying, hey, if my running back is on the roll today, let's let him cook.
And again, it's not that we're telling Josh Allen we don't want Josh Allen to be Josh Allen, but we don't need him to be spectacular every single time. I mean, the knock on Allen, not only with the high usage rate, the turnovers, because since he came into the NFL, he led the league in turnovers. Mm-hmm. Now that is gone now, because what you've been seeing last year and so far in just 3 games, his ability to taking care of the football, being more efficient, his completion percentage, his passer rating, QBR has improved. So those are great things you're seeing from Josh Allen. And plus, he doesn't need a target like a Stephon Diggs. He doesn't need to force feed him the ball. No. So he does the part of spreading the football. Shakir, Dalton Kincaid, with James Cook at times with the receiving game. This is good for Buffalo because it balances the offense. Champ, I want to talk about another offense, Miami. Look, they decided to go with Tua, pay him the money, because they feel like, look, if we don't pay him, who are we going to find in return? Tyreek Hill seems to me he wants out of Miami, and there's been reports about teams taking a look at him despite the DV allegations.
Yes.
Do you think it's over for Miami with McDaniel?
Yes, unfortunately. It is. And I really believe this. It's ridiculous. I did a video about this. I compared this offense to the roster. When you think about what they had on the offensive side of the ball, starting with Tyreek Hill, starting with the offensive line, Eric Weidl, all of these, David A-Chain, all of them. They had the chance on paper to be the next greatest show on turf. Or at
Ollie
least
Gordon too.
Ollie Gordon too. And even the next Air Coryell.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, they didn't have a chance in order to do it. They just didn't reach that plateau. Injuries played a part in a lot of it because Tua was on and off the field. But a lot of it is because Mike McDaniels, it's just he doesn't call the right plays. He doesn't know how to read the room when it comes to the field. He doesn't know how to read the room. If you are running the ball very, very well, why are you so hell-bent on passing the ball? And that's a knock on him and both Kyle Shanahan. If you are running the ball so well, and look, I've said this before, I will say it again till I am blue in the face. That zone blocking West Coast offense, it makes average running backs good running backs great running backs excellent, and excellent running backs into Hall of Famers. That's what that does. And I compare this offense a lot of wasted potential. Much like David Wanstead's defense back in the early 2000s with the Miami Dolphins. When they had the Ricky Williams team, when they had Zach Thomas, Jr. stay out, they had Cameron Wake, Keith Traylor, they had Ted Washington, they had one of the best secondaries in the ring in the league, but Patrick Surtain Sr. and Sam Madison, Brock Marion. Remember how wasted? Remember that whole defense wasted. It was a great defense for years to come, but it never could get off the ground, much like this offense right now. And he's essentially the Dave Wanstead of this generation. The only difference is Dave Wanstead didn't have a quarterback, and it doesn't look like they have one either because Tua is slowly turning into Desmond Riddler in front of our eyes at this point. Because if you really look at it, There was a lot of safe passes. There was a lot of dipping and dunking. There's a lot of screen passes. There's a
Down
lot of
screenplays.
scramble. There was not a lot of matriculating the ball down the field. There was not a lot of big bomb passes. You have Tyreek Hill. That's what you that's what you bought him there for the bomb, for the big play, for the hey, he down there somewhere type of play. But if you really look at it, it seems like Mike McDaniels kind of saw his limitation and is kind of masking him at this point. That's what it seems like.
Seems
And you
very
saw,
hesitant though.
yes, and you saw disaster was waiting to strike, and then lo and behold, it did when they least needed it to. I understand. Look, I understand completely when you have a quarterback and you're trying to lock him up as far as money is concerned, having a franchise QB. Because as a Falcons fan, I understand how long it took for us to recover from Matty Ice. It took us some years to recover from that. So I get it. But at the same time, you have to understand this. You have to believe your eyes as an organization, as a coach, and as a general manager. If a player cannot stay on the field, why in the blank would you pay him $200 million? That makes zero sense to me. That's just like going to Vietnam with a BB gun, if you really want me to be honest with you. That doesn't make any sense. Tua had already had injuries in college. He was having injuries already prior to the concussion. Then the concussions kicked in. Then we saw that. I mean, and this was before they paid him the contract. Remember, he was wobbling down the field at one point the year before they paid it. He was really wobbling down the field
I think
before he had the seizure right on the field.
No, I feel champ. I think the reason why they gave him the money because they're still trying to justify Tua. Because remember, it was reported that Brian Flores at the time, he wanted Justin Herbert. Dolphins, for whatever reason, decided to go with Tua. And so far, that's proven to be a mistake, a huge mistake, because Justin Herbert, say what you want about him and his lack of playoff success, but outside of that, you've seen him, what he has done in the past 6 years. He's a top 5, top 10 quarterback in the NFL, easily. Tua, I don't know what you're gonna have to do because there's certainly not enough trade value for Tua, considering his lack of production against superior teams and his durability. Therefore, who wants to take that risk on Tua? And whether they fire Mike McDaniel during or after the season, it needs to be done. They need to reconstruct this team because with that talent of a roster, you should win more games and compete for the playoffs practically every year. And they haven't. I mean, Buffalo's still not going anywhere. I see the New England Patriots taking a step up with the head coaching Mike Vrabel, Drake May. And then only time will tell with the Jets. So if I'm Miami, I might as well start cleaning up house.
If you really want me to be honest, I'm waiting until after the season. I want to see what you're going to do in order to turn this thing around. If I'm the owner, the general manager. Now, if it gets too out of hand, where I know you can't handle this situation anymore, then it's time for you to get gone. But let them finish out the rest of the season, see what's going to happen. You never know. I had the privilege of seeing a team that was 1-4 at one point in the form of the 1993 Houston Oilers, and they came back and went 12-4, the second longest winning streak at the time since the 72 Dolphins. So I had the privilege in order to see that. So I've seen miraculous things happen. Granted, they didn't win a Super Bowl, but they came all the way back from that deficit. And that's after their Hall of Fame quarterback, Warren Moon, got benched. So with that being said, I will let him finish out the season at this point. But the thing is, if it gets way too out of hand with the point where you're losing the locker room, you got mutinies going on, there's way too many players only meetings, there's too much of nothing, too much candy for a down, what we like to call it down south, then you got to go. But I don't know. I think the trade value for Tyreek Hill is still there. I think that they could get at least a second and maybe a fifth for him, considering, the quitting on his team right before, when he found out they was no longer eligible for the playoffs, not to mention some of the things that he has going on off the field, and I will leave it at that. I think he's at least eligible for a second and a fifth. I don't see any team coming out and giving a first. I don't see the trade that he was what
No,
he was traded for
yeah,
replicated.
no, I
So
don't see. No, I don't see like two first rounds or anything like that for
no,
Tyreek. Not at this juncture. I mean,
no,
even though he can still play and produce, he's not as young as he used to be, though. So, and plus those accusations, I don't think any team wants to take that risk.
yeah,
So, if you're going to say a third or a sixth,
yeah, third, maybe a third. I'd say a second and maybe a fifth.
I
But the
was being
thing is,
conservative.
I'm not gonna go further than that. But yeah, because like I said, you got to worry about your attitude and the character issues, and that goes hand in hand. Because guess what? Nobody wants to mess with a bad character guy. Nobody wants to mess with that, and especially if they talk about trading him to the Steelers. I don't know how long that's going to last. I don't know why people are getting that impression, because the thing is, Mike Tomlin doesn't put up with low character guys for very, very long. You saw what happened with Antonio Brown once he started getting too out of hand. You saw what happened to Juju Smith-Schuster. You saw what happened with Chase Claypool. You saw what happened with George Pickens. He's a Dallas Cowboy now. Those are four receivers that he really did not put up with after a while. So I don't know where people are getting this impression that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to trade for him at this point and try to bring him in order to be with Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf. They already got a very, very highly emotional receiver as it is. They just got rid of another one. So I don't really think that would be wise for the
Well, it's
Pittsburgh
Pittsburgh.
Steelers at this point.
Well, it's Pittsburgh, champ. I mean, what do you expect? I mean, they're not going to learn from their past mistakes. They're still going to bring on wide receivers known for that one problem. I mean, it's pretty prevalent down there in Pittsburgh. So, but for Miami, I think they need to clean up house. And when you I'm looking at their defense. In team defense, they're dead last in the NFL. They're dead last in passing defense. They're 31st in rushing defense. And on scoring defense, they're 31st in the NFL in scoring defense. And the points they give up 32.3 points in just 3 games, according to Pro Football Reference.
Man, they look, you got a lot of work to do. And they was even bad last year, and that was before they traded Christian
Yeah.
Wilkins, excuse me. So they was bad last year before their star defensive tackle left. So left in free agency, excuse me. He didn't get traded. Sorry to the audience out there. Don't mean to spread misinformation. But yeah, before he left, they was in a bad state of affairs. With him gone, they're even in a more worse state of affairs. So there's a lot of what's so sad about this with Miami. They used to be a once proud franchise. That is the most historically great franchise that it is. When you think about it prior to, I would say even up until after Dave Wanstead, because Dave Wanstead did some good things here there as well. I think after the Dave Wanstead era, they were just in a slump. Like they had that one good year where they had the Wildcat with Ronnie Brown and Ricky Williams and Chad Pennington. But after that, it's been like an up and down cycle at a certain point. When you think about how much history that Miami Dolphins franchise has, when you think about the Larry Zonkas, the Jim Kicks, the Brian Greases, I mean, when you think about how rich that the quarterback history was in that franchise, the Earl Moores, the Brian Greasy, and then the David Woodley. Remember, they went to a Super Bowl with David Woodley the year before they got Dan Marino. Then they go out to get Dan Marino. Then he goes off and reel off all of these good numbers. The history that they have drafting great defensive players, the no-name defense, the Cameron Wakes, a little bit of, drafting Patrick Surtain Sr., who it was one of the great cornerbacks doing it, drafting Randy McMichael, drafting Chris Chambers. They had historically, the Miami Dolphins have done great, but these last 10, 15 years, they've been in a slump that they just can't quite get out of. And like I stated, it pretty much that stability pretty much stopped right after Dave Warnstead. It's been like an up and down cycle ever since. They'll have a good year here, and then it's like several bad years. I attribute that to the owner, Ross, because
Stephen Ross.
there's just no way that you could be that bad for that long with a franchise that's has the history of the Miami Dolphins. Still to this day, the only team to have an undefeated team in NFL history. Still to this day, the great Don Shula, the great Dan Marino, all of these great football and coaching minds, and you just can't seem to get out of your own way and recapture that. I mean, we talk about Dan Snyder, but is Ross any better? Especially after what happened with the Dez Bryant.
Well, saying Ross is better than Snyder is not really much to brag about. I mean, but with Ross, I mean, it's really disappointing, and especially for a market like Miami.
Yes.
And so it's really disheartening. I mean, but unfortunately, they're stuck with Tua. I don't know how they're going to overcome that contract. So I don't know. I mean, and shout out to Luis. I know at times I feel like there are times he goes a little too far on Tua, but he'd be happy as hell if the Dolphins tank the rest of the season. And also another Dolphins fan, unfortunately, my girl Nessa. Look,
Dolphins fan?
she is.
Wow, I did not know that.
She is. She said we beat ourselves in that game. I don't know. I mean, you can't diminish nor take away what Buffalo did, but at the same time, you look at Miami, this has been a continuous problem with them. So they're going to have to get their act together. But speaking of a team that's gotten their act together, Champ, let's talk about your Atlanta Falcons, what they did on Sunday night at Minnesota against Minnesota Vikings. I'll give you credit, big fella. Forever I live Atlanta. 25-6. That defense, you can't ask a better defensive performance from your Atlanta Falcons. But you know what? The floor is yours, big fella.
Look, FILA, forever I love Atlanta. Look, I can't take the credit for this one. Big shout out to BRF Sports, man. Because my guy Frank knew exactly what he was talking about. Because I'm not going to tell you any lies. I want to go out there in free agency and just go out there and go into a spending frenzy in order to bring some other players. The minute when Christian Wilkins became available, I said, go get it. That's what I was on. So big ups to BRF Sports, because he said right out, he said, look, we got these rookies here. James Pierce is good. You know, from Tennessee, he's feisty. These rookies are going to be all that we need in order to get us to where we need to be. And he was absolutely right on the money. We knew that with that offense, we was going to have a chance offensively to be very darn good. Very darn good. You know, you had MPJ, you had Bijan, and Tyler Aguilar, who's right up there, in my humble opinion, with Sonic and Knuckles as far as great running back combos. You have Drake London, who's a hell of a receiver. You have Kyle Pitts, and you have Ray McLeod and Daryl Morley. So we knew we was going to be great offensively, not to mention McGarry and Jake Matthews. They hell of an
Aguilar.
Yeah.
And Aguilar, the running back, who is a really underrated running back.
Yes, he is. In fact, I thought that Dallas was going to trade for him because there was rumors that we was going to lose him in the offseason. So I'm so happy that didn't happen. Sorry, Mom, but I'm just being real. I didn't want y'all to take that from me. But yeah, we knew with that offense, but with this defense, it was such a surprise. Right now, they are top 4 in defense right now thus far. And I know people are going to discredit it because it is the Falcons, you know. Sometimes we are the punching bag of the NFL. But that team, Minnesota, is stacked. Let's just call it like we see it. That team is stacked. We was able to keep Justin Jefferson in check, which surprised the hell out of me. But I'm like, dude, watch that guy. Whatever you do, watch him with both of your eyes. Because I was really like, man, we're going to end up in a shootout. But no, it was really a great defensive game. So big ups to Raheem Morris because he is a defensive coach, learned after the great Dan Quinn, who's your head coach right about now,
Yes.
and was the interim coach at one time once Dan Quinn got fired. So the fact that he was able to come in this year, and Coach Oric, Coach Oric, the defensive coordinator. Unfortunately, he gets the wrong type of publicity because of what his son did with the Shedeur Sanders situation, but that's a hell of a defensive coordinator. So big ups to them because, look, I don't think people understand when you have a great offense, it's important to have a great defense because the offense is not going to necessarily be on every single game. At times, we were good doing that game, but at times the offense sputtered. That's why you saw all the field goals that we made. So for us to go out there and handle business the way that we did, that's nothing short of amazing, man. We was literally out there cooking JJ McCarthy for breakfast. I mean, turn him every which way but loose.
Turn
So
like cartwheels.
yes, indeed. That was wow. That was crazy, man. I did, like I said, big ups to BRF because guess what? I knew it was going to be good offensively. I wanted to go out there in free agency, bring in Christian Wilkins, which is still a surprise that he doesn't have a job right about now, considering how disruptive of a run stopper that he is and a pass rusher that he is. He's a complete package. But, we don't know what went on in that locker room. But, yeah, that's what I was on. But BRF Sports, man, if you watch it, when you see this, man, just know this. Your Georgia brother, we call ourselves the gentlemen of Georgia, your fellow gentlemen of Georgia, hey, man, thank you for that because I was real concerned, man. But this defense is everything that we hope for and more. And plus, like I said, we could rush and we could put a spy on the quarterback because J.J. McCarthy, it was rare that he got away from us because he's as
very
accurate as
athletic.
he is. Yeah, he's as accurate as he is mobile. Don't undersell J.J. McCarthy. But there's a reason why they was willing to let Sam Darnold go in free agency and say we're going to stick with this young man. He's a national champion. So let's not undersell them. But the way that defense did on top of that offense, hey, and Bijan Robinson out there looking like Marshall Faulk / Roger Craig out there. Don't be surprised if he goes for 1,000 yards. Don't be surprised if he goes for 1,000 this year because of the way he's performing, because they are putting him in some impeccable situation. Don't be surprised about that. If this continues, I'm not going to be a Delulu type of guy and say we're going to end up in the Super Bowl. I could see us making it to the divisional round of the playoff. Aim small, miss small.
Well, you're being conservative. But, champ, your defense is second in the NFL in team defense, the number one in passing defense. And according to Pro Football Reference, as far as scoring defense, let me see right here. I'm going to see if I could try to get it. I mean, you've only given up 14.5 points on the defensive side of the football field. And when you look at team scoring defense, you're second, only behind the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, he told you, BRF, shout out to BRF, he told you about James Pierce. He told you about a lot of good talent. Michael Penix Jr., I would have liked to see him play a little bit better, but still, there's a reason why he had no problem going with Michael Penix Jr. over Dallas Turner, who had a solid game in that Sunday night game against the Atlanta Falcons. But that defense, with the ability to run the football, champ, 39 carries, 218 yards, you can win a lot of football games if you play defense and run the ball that effectively. They made it hell difficult for JJ McCarthy. He was sacked 6 times in that game, only finished with a QBR of 6.3. And they held Minnesota 19 carries, 78 yards, 4.1 yards per carry. Justin Jefferson, 3 for 81 yards. The longest gain he had was near the end of the second quarter so that the Falcons can have a 9-6 lead. But, champ, I mean, their defense, Atlanta, they got to make the playoffs, man. I think this could be their year to make the playoffs. We don't know about winning the division. because we're going to get into another team in that division. But shout out to you as well. You picked Atlanta. You were very confident. I picked the Vikings, and even though BRF said this, he was thinking about going with the Vikings in that one as well. But you decided to go with Atlanta on this one. So, big fella, you got to give credit. You got to give yourself more credit than what you give yourself for, man. But you should be really proud of this team.
Yes, I am, man. I only wish that, man. Look, big shout out to not only the Atlanta Falcons. Look, shout out to the Atlanta Dream. I know we bit the dust last night against the Indiana Fever, but the most wins in franchise history, 30 wins. And Alicia Gray is an MVP candidate. So big ups to the Atlanta Dream. So I know y'all didn't make it as far as we would have liked. I would love to see us take on the Aces and go against the great Asia Wilson and see if we can go for a title. But unfortunately, it was not to be. So big ups to not only my Atlanta Falcons, but my Atlanta Dream as well. And shout out to all that team. Congratulations. We salute y'all. Y'all made us proud to be Georgians.
Absolutely. But champ, Baker Mayfield. Now we talk Baker Mayfield, man. The reason why I went with Tampa over Houston was because I have no faith in Houston's offensive line. And CJ Stroud, and I'm sorry, I got to say this, is regressing. He does not look like the same CJ his rookie year. Now, again, it's only early. He's still doing this without Tank Dell. He's still doing this without some of his other weapons. But I still believe in CJ. But Baker Mayfield, you want to talk about tough, resiliency? You want to talk about a chip on the shoulder? That's Baker Mayfield. Boy, in that game, and he took a lot of punishment, but the drive, champ, for the Bucs to score right after Nick Chubb just scored that touchdown, it didn't bother or faze Baker. 4th and 10, how he was able to get the first down, the drives, Bucky Irving breaking tackles. This is the reason why I would not be surprised Tampa wins the division again. Because we keep talking about what Atlanta's going to do, what we expect Michael Penix to do, how Carolina, they were supposed to take a step up after what you saw Bryce Young last season later in the year. But people have forgotten about Baker Mayfield. What's very impressive with Baker Mayfield, he's doing this without his best offensive lineman, Tristan Wirfs.
Yes.
And without Chris Godwin.
Yes.
So it tells you, and also too, Baker also has this perception of being a coach killer. The last 2 head coaches from the last 2 offensive coordinators have gotten jobs. You look at the former offensive coordinator, I can't remember his name, the new head coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Liam Cohen.
Yes. You saw the job he did with Baker last year, and he's supposed to be doing that with a guy, Trevor Lawrence, who coming out of college was considered a generational talent. That was never said about Baker Mayfield. And when you look at Baker Mayfield, they talk it's either the weapons or the system, but at the same time, it's on Baker as well. He has found a home. He's found coaching. I don't want to dwell on the past anymore. We've said it before, champ. Cleveland made a huge mistake moving on from Baker and going with Deshaun Watson. And I'm happy that he is getting the last laugh. He is really, and again, and I love it because, again, he goes to my school, Oklahoma, OU.
You still got the helmet, right?
Oh, I got the helmet. You want to see it?
Let's see the helmet, bro.
Oh, give me a second.
You got to break it out, man. Gotta love OU, man.
I'm going to need that for tomorrow because we got Auburn. So we got to make sure we take care of our business against Auburn, though. I mean, their wide receiver core is scary. And plus, Jackson Arnold's going against his old team. So we got to do something. But I love what I've seen from John Mateer, who should be in the conversation for the Heisman. Although, my opinion, I would give it to Marcel Reed out of A&M. 9 touchdowns, 1 interception, and he did beat Notre Dame last week. Not an easy stage to play. So,
no, not at all.
But back to Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, can we stop saying that he's not a top 10 quarterback? Can we please stop it? Because if you have not seen Baker Mayfield these past couple of years and what he's doing now, I don't know what more you could ask. I believe he should be in the conversation with the MVP, with Herbert, and with Josh Allen. Because we talk about what Justin Herbert is doing without his best offensive lineman Slater and with Quentin Johnson. Well, Baker Mayfield is doing it without his best offensive lineman and Tristan Wirfs, and even without Godwin, even with Mike Evans not being what he used to be. You see him with Ibuka, you see him with all the other wide receivers. Cade Otton is a really underrated tight end, champ. He's really underrated, and he can get you some yards. He may not be the most explosive, but he's steady. Bucky Irving, the way he was breaking tackles, him and White are a very underrated running back duo. And Todd Bowles with the defense lately has been looking good. But my thing is with Baker, I'm very happy because he beat two good defenses, Atlanta and Houston. You would know because he did beat you in the season opener. I predicted that one as well.
Yes, you did.
Baker Mayfield is just proving doubters, critics wrong. One doubter and critic is one particularly Colin Cowherd. And now, and Baker Mayfield clutch as well. What more could I say? But I'll let you go.
12 fourth quarter comebacks. 12. Took some time to look up some things while you were speaking on your segment, and I'm just going to be real. Do you know who has the most touchdowns the last 3 years in the NFL?
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield. He has more touchdowns than Jared Goff, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Jordan Love, and Joe Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes, and Brock Purdy. He's number one on that list right about now. He is a top 10 quarterback if you really want to ask me, and depending on where you want to bump everybody else in that bottom five up, he could very well be 6 or 7. That's just me being very, very honest.
Oh, and to interrupt, sorry to interrupt you, big fella. You even did a start, bench, and cut between Baker, Jordan Love, and Jalen Hurts. And I know it's a hot topic. I know it's controversial. You know, there's a lot of people going to say a lot of critical things. You said you start Baker, bench Love, and you cut Hurts.
Yes, and like I stated, I know Jalen Hurts has a Super Bowl ring, and I have given Jalen Hurts his props. He deserves all the credit in order for what he's done, because there's so many, like I've said it before, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but you've seen quarterbacks in this league with stacked teams, and they don't do anything with them. Jalen Hurts has gotten to the Super Bowl twice and won one with his stacked teams. When you think about stacked teams, you think about Lamar Jackson, you think about Brock Purdy, you think about the Detroit Lions. And guess what? He's done everything with that team that he has. The other ones have not. So I give him his props. But I base mine on arm strength, arm talent, and the ability to bring your team back at will. At will is the key word. And Baker has proven that he can bring his team back at will. So guess what? I know he hasn't won a Super Bowl right about now, but that team has the capability in order to win one. Look, Baker has that chip on his shoulder, kind of like that he had back when he was at Oklahoma. This is Oklahoma Baker Mayfield, because he's in your face. He was doing everything the right way. He's able to rally these guys. And if you want me to be honest with you, he gave my Georgia Bull. I know Baker Mayfield personally because he, much like C.J. Stroud, gave my Georgia Bulldogs hell on our national championship run that year when we faced them in the Rose Bowl on our way to the Natty, where we eventually lost to Alabama.
Yeah.
So, and look, at the half, we was down 20-3. We were scared. You thought that C.J. Stroud gave us a heart attack. We were literally coming from a deficit the entire game. We were coming from a deficit the entire game. And the fact that we even caught up with that offense, because I'm like, yeah, we down 20-3. This game's over. And the fact that because we was a predominantly a running team, we really haven't had to come down at that point, come from down from a deficit like that. But the fact that we came down from a deficit like that, 20-3, Heisman Trophy winner, and that offense was stacked.
Young
All of
CeeDee
those
Lamb,
guys,
Mark Andrews.
all of those guys on that offense that came from that offense are nothing less than Pro Bowlers. CeeDee Lamb, Hollywood Brown, Mark Andrews, Joe Mixon. Pro Bowler, Pro Bowler, Pro Bowler, and then the quarterback himself, Pro Bowler. So, yeah, that team was stacked. That gave us fits that day. We had trouble stopping Baker Mayfield, but he's looking like that Baker Mayfield that can air that ball out like a Steeler fan. And shout out to my best friends, Calvin, the Calvin brothers. Y'all know who y'all is. Y'all going against each other tomorrow. I know Big Cal is an Oklahoma fan. C100, I know you are Auburn fan, so it's going to be interesting to see how the bar is tomorrow when we go there. But, yeah, Baker Mayfield, man, look, give him his credit. He didn't come into a system with a lot of great players. He had to follow up behind. Look, there were so many things defying the odds with Baker Mayfield, much like Jalen Hurts. Number one, he was labeled a first-round bust. Like it or not, he was labeled that. And it's
not only that, champ, he was labeled Johnny Manziel.
Yes, he was labeled first-round bust regardless of the fact that he got the Cleveland Browns to the playoff and got their first playoff win since Bernie Kosar.
94.
Yes. Regardless of that, everybody was counting him out, especially one Colin Cowherd. When you think about he went to the Carolina Panthers. That didn't work out well. He went to the LA Rams, started getting coaching, and even before he went to Tampa Bay, where he unfortunately had to take the place of the greatest quarterback of all time, everybody was telling him to retire. Why don't you retire and become a college analyst? You're one of the greatest college players of all time. Why don't you become an analyst? I remember that's what Colin Cowherd and a lot of the other talking heads on television said. So defying all of those odds, coming back from the top of the top to being the bottom of the bottom, to going back up top again, winning your division 2 years in a row, probably going on a third, depending on how this year goes. That's how you defy the odds. And he's been defying the odds since he was in college. Remember, he was a walk-on at Texas Tech, I believe. Walk-on at Texas Tech. Then go from being a walk-on at Texas Tech to one of the most historically great programs in the history of college sports. Oklahoma still to this day has the longest winning streak in college football history, 49-0. So for you to go from being a walk-on at Texas Tech, for you to win Freshman of the Year, and then also you go from there to go to Oklahoma, walk on again, and win the Heisman, the first ever walk-on in order to win the Heisman, those are how you defy the odds. It's not just the system. It has to be you at a certain point.
He has talent. I mean, Baker, he doesn't get enough credit for his mobility. Baker, is he the most athletic? No, but he's mobile. And he has a strong enough arm. Those were two underrated things about Baker. And look, Baker, again, he's not prototypical in size. Baker's about 6 feet, 6'1", 215. But Baker,
if he's that.
No, he's at least 6 feet. He's at least 6 feet.
He's 6 feet. I'm talking about we kind of exaggerating when we say 6'1", though.
Well, yeah, I mean, you say that all the time with Drew Brees. I mean, they list him 6 feet, but you're like, no, he's 5'11", 5'10".
Yeah.
But either way, can he play? And yes, is he a leader? Mike Evans, if you saw the interview that he did with Kevin Hart, he talked about how Baker Mayfield convinced him to stay for another couple of years in Tampa. And when I look at this offense, they're still going to be loaded. And Baker's still got some good years left ahead of him. So he just needs to be the best Baker Mayfield. He doesn't need to be Tom Brady. All he just needs to do is be himself. Tampa, Another person's trash is another person's treasure. Tampa has found their guy in Baker, and Cleveland. I mean, you made your bed, you lay in it. Now, I mean, it's gotten so bad. I mean, you're looking like horse manure.
It's so bad now that even Steve Harvey did an interview with the Pivot today, asking for the Cleveland Browns to give him a shot, and if they don't give him a shot, just go ahead and trade him and see if he can get another opportunity somewhere else. That's how bad it is. When your team is so bad that they're talking about the third string quarterback, is because that's the only way you get headlines. That says more about your organization on how much of a dumpster fire that it is. That organization is a dumpster fire. So, yeah, when the third string quarterback is getting more publicity than the entire team, and you have one of the best defensive players, Cleveland, I wasted careers. That's all I can say. Wasted the career of Joe Thomas on the offensive side of the ball, one of the greatest offensive linemen of all time. Now it seems like history is repeating itself on the defensive side of the ball. You're wasting Myles Garrett's career. I really wish that he could have stuck to his guns and gotten the blank up out of there, because it's sad to see him on this team. Everybody wants to get paid, man, but get paid, young man, get paid. But look, man, in the great words of Gordon Bombay from Mighty Ducks 1, it's not worth playing if you can't win.
Well, but at the same time, champ, you didn't have a problem with it because again, Myles Garrett, hey, Cleveland, they may try to do something. We thought about the possibility of drafting Abdul Carter with Myles Garrett, but they decided not to do that. They traded the number 2 overall pick to Jacksonville, and Jacksonville ended up getting Travis Hunter. My thing is with Cleveland, they can't help themselves. And you talk about Stephen Ross as an owner. What about Jimmy Haslam?
What's so funny about Cleveland is they get these special players. They have some special players on this roster. Jared Jeudy, David Njoku, that guy's a specimen. No funny business. He is a specimen, and he's a hell of a tight end too. So you have a lot of great players on this roster. Offense, defense, you just haven't had the quarterback since Baker. You don't have the quarterback. And I'm hoping that, look, as much as I love Sador, I'm hoping that him or Dylan Gabriel is able to stabilize this franchise. I'm hoping that he or either one, because Cleveland needs a quarterback that they can get behind. That team needs a quarterback in the worst way. So either one of them would do it for me. I would prefer Sador, but if Dylan Gabriel wins, then guess what? Put your best guy on the field. But they need some quarterback plays because Joe Flacco is starting to show his age at this point. He has not looked good these last couple of games.
He hasn't. And I think at some point, maybe week 3, week 4, you'll probably see Dylan Gabriel. But with back to Baker, I can't be more proud. He is really, I mean, as an OU guy, I love it because people went as far calling him bust during his time in Cleveland. No, it has more to do with Cleveland organization. I'm not saying that Baker doesn't deserve culpability because he does, but Cleveland is more to do with Cleveland because they still can't get out of their own way. And Tampa, fortunately for him, he's found a home. He loves it there. They love him. They're succeeding. He's flourishing. This is the best football we've seen from Baker Mayfield. It's reminiscent to his days at Oklahoma. And this roster, this Tampa Bay roster, they're loaded. Ibuka, Cade Otton, Chris Godwin when healthy, Mike Evans, as I mentioned, Bucky Irving, White.
Jalen McMillan.
Yes, who BRF talked about. Shout out to BRF as well. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I picked Tampa over Atlanta, because I still believe as long as Baker's there, you still got a chance. And he's doing this without Tristan Wirfs. So it goes to show you that Baker is a lot more valuable than he's given credit for. He
Yes.
really is. And I'm really happy with what I'm seeing from Baker Mayfield. Chip, let's talk about the other game, America's Game of the Week, the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Eagles won that one 20-17. I mean, a lot of people were complaining about the tush push, particularly one Adam Schefter. Chris Jones, did you hear the sound? The mic when he was complaining to Jalen Hurts. I love Jalen Hurts' response to that. I mean, at the end of the day, if you can't do anything about it, hey, stop it. And look, we've had conversations about the tush push. People, the NFL, they're just being petty. Look, do I like watching the tush push myself? No. But at the same time, if it works, why go against it? I've used this analogy before. It's like with basketball. I don't like seeing the hack a Shaq, but I understand why people want to do it in order to slow the game and try to find ways to win. And look, Kansas City, they had opportunities to win that game. Patrick Mahomes missed some throws. Travis Kelce, that drop pass in the red zone. You just got to give credit to Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts, he didn't play particularly well in that game, but it was enough in order for the Eagles to get the W. You got to give credit to the Eagles defense. I thought Saquon played a little bit better in week 2 than he did in week 1. What I'm seeing from Kansas City, yes, champ, it validates what you said about Kansas City. Can they still compete? And I was listening to your pod. Flash said it. It's over for Kansas City. Not as far as competing for playoffs and Super Bowls and stuff like that, but as far as the dynasty talk, I think that is over. Kansas City, they're going to have to do a lot of reconstructing. They're going to have to make some moves with the offense. Travis Kelce, whether if the Chiefs release him or he retires, you have to find his successor. And you got to find ways to help out Mahomes, because Patrick Mahomes, and again, champ, I'll say it again, he still has a chance to be the GOAT. I am not saying he's the GOAT. It's kind of like me saying, champ, if you work out with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, you could be on the cover of GQ.
That's valid.
Yes.
I could be on there now, but still. Just being. But hey man, Miss Face Card don't decline, baby. But just gonna be real. But there's a lot of stuff that Kansas City has to address. They have to address that. Look, half their team out. She writes, he's out.
Worthy injury.
He's out. I mean, and you did the number one thing that I said not to do. Do not trade your offensive line. Why? Because the quarterback can't throw when he on his back. Patrick Mahomes is out there running for his life out there. How is he supposed to plant his feet and get the ball down the field? He can't. You just traded 2 of his greatest assets. You traded his center and his guard. How he's supposed to do anything at this point? People may not think a guard or a center is important until you lose him. Look what happened when my Atlanta Falcons lost Alex Mack, one of the greatest centers of all time. Look what happened. The quarterback can't throw on his back. All of these weapons, you can have Jared Rice, Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, T.O., and Kellen Winslow Sr. on that field. If you don't have a valid offensive line, you're not going to be able to get them the ball. And one of his safety nets, what used to be his safety net, he is declining. 3 years ago, Travis Kelce would have never dropped that pass. He was him catching that ball in that end zone was almost a sure thing. There's a lot to reload. There's a lot to be desired there. As far as the tush push is concerned, is this. I'm not going to be antagonistic. There was a false start. It has come out today that the tush push did false start on that very last play. But at the same time, look, I keep saying this. If you want to beat the tush push, render it useless. Render it useless. How do you do that, champ? Make sure it's 4th and 3 and not 4th and 1. Make sure it's 3rd and 5 and not 3rd and 1. The more short yardage you give them, the more they have an opportunity to use it. I don't agree with stopping anything. If it's working for the offense, run it until you stop it. If you want to tush push down the field all day long and do like the old days did before they started trickling the ball down the field, do it. But at the end of the day, stop it. At one point, they was talking about getting rid of the no huddle offense when Boomer Esiason and the Cincinnati Bengals was doing it back in the 80s. They was talking about getting rid of it. Remember the Marv Levy, the greatest coach in Buffalo Bills history. He was talking about making a mockery of the game on the field, lobbying in the commissioner's office for it. Before he took that no huddle offense and went to 4 Super Bowls with it, they were talking about outlawing it, how it should be outlawed. And look at how much it is a staple in the NFL today. So with that being said, look, yes, false start on that last one, I understand. But we cannot keep complaining about stuff we can't stop, because eventually we all know about these little fads that come into the NFL. Remember, one year was the Wildcat. You know, it used to be the shotgun every other play. It used to be a lot of these read option plays. Fads come into the NFL. What causes them to stick around and what makes them in the offenses, why the shotgun is the offense and the Wildcat isn't, is if it works in the long term. The tush push has worked in the long term. So if it's going to work in the long term, stop it. You can't look. I understand the false starts. Yes, if they false start, penalize them, understandably. But you cannot penalize a team because of something that they're good at, because the rest of the darn NFL hasn't come up with a way to stop it.
Well, actually, you've come up with a way to stop it by getting some big boys in that interior. Maybe they should be, maybe the Chiefs should have called Desmond Watson.
Yes, I agree. Get you a Desmond Watson. Go out there. Look, there's a lot of big guys throughout the NFL history that don't get the credit that they deserve. When you talk about Vince Wilfork, when you talk about Richard Seymour, who was a Hall of Famer, when you talk about the great Teddy Washington, who was, I think he was 6'6", 370 at a certain point. When you talk about
William the Refrigerator Perry.
Yes, when you talk about Keith Traylor, who was a Miami Dolphin, there's been a lot of big guys that you can put in there. Those big bodies can stop the run. Those wide open, Tony Siragusa, Sam Adams, space eaters, what I like to call them, big space eaters, just like myself, space eaters. Put them in there and let them have that tush push. Don't be sitting around here complaining about the tush push when you can sit around here and scheme and stop it. Put your space eaters in there and put them in there and see if they can stop something. All of this complaining about the tush push, I have never seen one play complain about as much as the tush push, because they can't stop it. When have we come in football play where if we can't stop something, it has to be outlawed? No. Okay, I get it. The false starts need to be monitored. I agree 100%. You cannot run a play that's going to break the false start rules, because if you got a play that I can't stop, plus you get a false start, plus you're able to false start without it being called, then guess what? That's a whole nother ball game. That's cheating. I get that part. But if they're getting off that ball clean like that and you can't stop it, why complain? Either stop it or render it useless. Like I said, it's very dabbling hard to do a tush push when it's 4th and 3, when it's 4th and 4, when it's 4th and 5, when it's 3rd and 7. They got to air the ball out like a ceiling fan at that point, or run a sweep. Tush push ain't gonna work unless it's short yardage situation. So you have to take them out of situation in order for them to use it. That's the bottom line. Now, when you get in the red zone, put those big space eaters in there and let them eat up that space. I understand the Philadelphia Eagles have a good, hell of an offensive line, Hall of Famers, but guess what? Put in them space eaters in there and let them challenge them. Let them challenge them. Don't start. Look, the false start and the NFL monitoring it I understand because I can't stop you if you're breaking the rules on top of having an unstoppable play. But if long as they obey the rule, let it fly. And I'm not a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Let's let that be clear. I'm not a Philadelphia Eagles fan. I am a Falcons fan. But I am not into the business of stopping something and getting rid of something because the rest of the NFL is going to get all pissy about it just because they can't stop it. Stop the play or render it useless. Either way, it doesn't matter. You trying to get rid of the tush push at this point, it's equivalent to the NBA back when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had the hook shot. It's equivalent to them outlawing the hook shot. It's equivalent to
You mean the Duncan champ?
no, the hook shot, the sky hook. You know, the unstoppable sky hook.
No, I know the unstoppable sky hook, but didn't Kareem, in order for him to develop the sky hook, they took away the dunking part because it made it so much easier. So, in order for him to evolve and grow his game, he developed the hook shot, the sky
Yes,
hook.
yes. But that's kind of like taking everything away. Okay, we took away dunking from me. Now we're going to take away the sky hook. And I've even compared it to this. Them trying to ban the tush push is kind of like them intentionally walking Barry Bonds. Where's the competition in that? Go out there, put your guys out there and say, okay, you're going to take the tush push out there. I'm going to stop it. That's the thing. Look, that's what I'm about. Look, you run your best play every single game. I'm going to be, as a defensive-minded coach, I'm going to render it useless. We used
Just say Ric Flair, champ. To be the man, you got to beat the man.
Exactly. Stop trying to complain and stop trying to take away what people is great at because you can't beat them. I know that Philadelphia and the way they win is not pretty. The way they win is not pretty. It's defense running the ball. It's textbook football. It's not exciting all the time, I will say. It's not exciting all the time. They want to see touchdowns. They want to. I know it ain't pretty all the time. And I know
Nevertheless, it's conducive.
exactly. So guess what? Don't be taking away what people is good at because your behind can't stop it. Stop being sore losers. Stop whining about it and come up with a way to stop it. When they false start, call it. Other than that, stop it. It's just that simple.
No, you said it well, big fella. I mean, look, it was a very close competitive game. Kansas City had their chances. Um, they're just gonna have to do a lot as far as with this team. I mean, look, are the Eagles exciting to watch? Is offensively? No, because not a lot of times Jalen Hurts is going to throw 300 yards. But again, he's still showing you why he's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. And just because he has Saquon running the football doesn't mean that he is not a compliment. Doesn't mean that he can't contribute to the team. It's just that at this particular time, with Saquon running the football like this, hey Jalen, we're not going to ask you to do too much. Now, when Saquon is not there, there will come a point in which Jalen will step up. And we saw Jalen Hurts step up. The best that we saw from Jalen Hurts football was the first year when he took the Eagles to the Super Bowl. Had not been for injury, he would have won the league MVP champ because it was late in that season. But unfortunately, he got hurt. And plus, no one's going to argue against Patrick Mahomes, especially the first year without Tyreek throwing for 5,000 yards and 41 touchdowns. But, and look, do I think Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback? No, but he's top 10 at best. I think he's a top 10 quarterback. I think he's a good enough quarterback in the NFL. Howie Roseman, as far as he's the best executive in football. Every time when he makes football decisions, I'm like, how the hell does this dude keeps making these types of trades? How does he do it? The head coach, Nick Sirianni, who received a lot of criticism early on, he's done his job. There's nothing you can argue or say about there. I agree with the false starts, Chip. I thought the Eagles got away with that false start, though. But outside of that, why complain? I mean, unless you're going to find a way to stop the tush push, stop complaining. Put this on you. Take accountability for the performance and just move on. So, and I think Kansas City, they got a lot of work to do. And I think as for the Eagles, it's still a win. Are the Eagles last year No. And they got a big game week 3 against the Rams. So we'll wait and see about that. But look, as far as the tush push being bad and stuff, stop. People just being too petty. Stop complaining. And look, I'm a Commanders fan. I am a Commanders fan.
Yes. Look, all of this trying to ban stuff, man. Look, stop it. Look, hey, if I won
What the hell
trips
you
right,
gonna do next? You gonna ban cereal? Or you gonna ban bacon and eggs? And all of a sudden,
what's so funny about that dummy Mel Kiper talked about last year when they ran the too high safety when the safeties was just
yeah,
back to back
I
10
remember
yards.
that.
He
And
was
you,
talking about, well, they need to ban that. Well, damn, you might as well just ban the cover two if you was gonna do that. Because we're not getting enough passing yards. That's the damn point. The damn point of the tush push is to help me in short yardage situation. The point of the two high safeties is to help so they don't go out there and air me out like a ceiling fan on a Sunday. So guess what? Stop it. If there's a concept that every so often there's new concepts in the NFL.
champ, it's just jealousy.
You have to jealousy, and the thing is, look, you don't like it, stop it. If you want to be more like that team, run it. If you're incapable of that team, stick to your strength. All of this trying to, like I said, they try to do it with the no huddle offense. They campaign in order to take away the two high safeties. Look, when something is working, leave it alone. Let the NFL be competitive. All of this, I'm going to take away something when it gets too hard for all the other teams. If every other team can't stop it, I'm going to take it away. When it's a false start, I understand, call the penalty. That way the tush push is rendered useless. If you're going to false start, you don't deserve to run the play. I agree wholeheartedly. But as long as you're operating within those rules of the NFL, as long as you operate within those rules, absolutely, Mr. Coleman, absolutely. As long as you're operating within those rules, guess what? Run the play until I'm going to run that doggone play until you stop it.
You know, Chip, there's one play I hate that the NFL implemented, the onside kick. Because now you have to tell opposing teams, hey, we're going to do the onside kick.
Again, make football competitive.
But that's what. But I get we understand that part, champ. Don't you want unpredictability?
That's what I mean by
isn't that what makes it exciting for us as people, viewers to watch? Why take away that component?
Again, if you know what I'm doing, what's the point of me doing it anyway? It's kind of like telling you, I got to pass. You know I'm going to pass the ball, right? I just want you to get your defense ready and run two high safeties and get in the nickel defense so I can go ahead and run the ball. All right. But let it be competitive, man. All of these rules, these different rules, because we want the playing field to be equal. Look, the playing field is equal enough when you get your behind on that field. Everybody lifted weights. Everybody went through 2-a-days. Everybody went through the weightlifting program. Everybody went through the nutrition. Everybody went through the off-season workouts. Everybody went through the same thing that everybody else went through. Now let the field tell the story about who worked harder. That's because that's all it is. The field tells the story about who worked harder. Whether your team is good or bad, that's what the story tells you. If you was in spring training, loafing around, not doing what you're supposed to, that's what the tape gonna say. If you was in spring training, busting your behind and doing what you're supposed to, that's what the tape gonna say. So that tape don't lie. I mean, men lie, women lie, and numbers do too to a certain extent. But that tape, your eyes don't lie.
I don't. Unless if it's you at a barbecue, because again, F the salad, I'm gonna stick to this barbecue, this burger and cheese and fries and all that shit.
Oh, I'm going straight for the brisket, brother. I'm going straight for the brisket.
But man, nah, I feel you on that. Chip, what did you thought about the Giants and Cowboys game? That was one of the more exciting games, man. Russell Wilson looked like the Russell Wilson of old, and for some reason, he made the backwards pass the pick that he threw, I don't know what Russ was thinking. The New York Giants 14 penalties. That has to speak to Brian Daboll, and he's got to be on the hot seat. As for the Dallas Cowboys, man, look, Dak Prescott played very well. Give him kudos. I love what I'm seeing from Brian Schottenheimer, the head coach, especially on the offensive side of the football. But man, Russ, he played fantastic. I didn't think Russ was going to be this. And it actually helped them in some way because guess what? They don't have to rush in Jackson Dart. But there were times, champ, I felt like they should have run the ball more of Cam Scatterboo, especially in 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 3s, stuff like that. Why couldn't you give him the ball more in overtime? And I understand that Russell Wilson, he was airing it. Hey, let Russ cook. But at the same time, what about Cam? You said it before. He is the combination of both Christian McCaffrey and Mike Allstott. And Malik Neighbors. Boy, he was torturing Trayvon Diggs in that game, man. Even though the Cowboys won and Brandon Aubrey, right now, the best kicker in football.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I knew 20-something seconds left on the clock, Dallas was going to come back, get into field goal possession. And as long as you give Aubrey a chance, he was going to nail it. He did it in the 4th quarter. And of course, he did it in overtime. It was an exciting game. Russ threw for over 400 yards. It was magnificent, but I felt like Cam Scatterboo should have been involved more in the offense, especially in overtime. Brian Daboll, the 14 penalties, and that is a concern. And he's gonna have to move on from that because they got the Chiefs Sunday Night Football. As for Dallas, a win is a win, but your defense has not looked good these past couple of games, champ. And even though Mama Champ is happy with the win, still in all, if you talk about having heart attacks yourself, I'm quite sure Mama Champ had a heart attack in that game.
Heart attack game. Luckily, she wasn't able to watch it. I was watching it for her, but that was what I like to call the typical, we got to pat that, the heart attack game. We have to pat that. So,
yes.
If you're out there, we'd already packed it. So, you know what I'm saying? I already got the paperwork in place. So don't be trying to steal. That's gimmick infringement, by the way. But I digress. But yeah, that was a heart attack game. That was Dak, man, look, talk all you want to about Dak. But when you ask him to show up, he gonna show up. He gonna show up when he needs to. In the regular season, I would say. He still has a lot to prove in the playoffs, but in the regular season, he's done fairly well. He's doing fairly well. So let's not underestimate it. He's still a top 10 quarterback in this league. He aired it out like a ceiling fan. Russ, I salute you. Look, Brian Daboll, get the control of that locker room. Otherwise, they're going to air you out. All right? Your offensive, it's a problem when your the same offensive lineman get 5 penalties in a row. 5 penalties in a row. Then the damn guy had the nerve to come over and want to try to fight the coach. Then let's not even go back 1 week earlier. Brian Daboll's talking to Malik Neighbors. He's trying to get him on the same accord. Nothing. Tried to shake his hand. Nothing. So, yeah, you got to get this locker room and everything under control. You're the coach. You're the coach. They haven't had a real coach since Tom Coughlin. Much as y'all tried to replace him, you needed Tom Coughlin. Tom Coughlin was a mixture of discipline and enthusiasm. And in the words of the late great Joe Clark from Lean on Me, discipline is not the freaking enemy of enthusiasm. And that's what Tom Coughlin brought to the table. And unfortunately, they haven't brought that mixture of discipline and enthusiasm to that team since Tom Coughlin. They've made the playoff. But discipline and enthusiasm creates motivation and discipline itself. And discipline wins when motivation loses. You lose motivation throughout the game. When you're losing and you're down, sometimes you lose motivation. When that discipline kicks in, that's when you're at your best, especially in a sport like football, in a sport like boxing. That's when your discipline kicks in, your conditioning kicks in. And that's what Tom Coughlin was a master at. They haven't had that coach that brought that level of discipline and enthusiasm like Tom Coughlin did, and they're still paying for it.
It's just really unfortunate with the Giants, champ, because it was a really competitive game. They had their chance, man. With Brian Dable, I don't know what are you gonna have to do in order to help out this team, but a lot of problems with the players and a lot of frustration. And it's been now, and what makes it so bad for Brian Dable, look at Daniel Jones and look how well he's been playing these past couple of games in Indianapolis. It's not looking just bad for Anthony Richardson. It's already bad enough for Anthony Richardson, but Brian Dable.
Yeah. And when you don't have control of the locker room, that's what it's going to look like. Look, I don't think people understand how much talent this team has at this point.
They loaded.
This team has some talent. You know, they have linebackers. They have defensive players. They have one of the best defensive tackles in the league in the form of Dexter Lawrence. They have Cam Scatterboo. They have Tracy Porter. They have the receivers. They have decent offensive line play. It's you. It's the coach. When you have Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Dexter Lawrence. And then you have a lot of these other great players on this defensive side of the ball. Then you look on the offensive side of the ball. Even though Russ lost that game, he aired the ball out like a ceiling fan. It was just the undiscipline that y'all had, and that falls on coaching. That cost y'all the game at the end of the day. Like I said, being disciplined works when motivation doesn't. Or winning will win when wishing won't. So, yeah, you gotta discipline ain't the enemy of enthusiasm, guys. You gotta get a coach like a Tom Coughlin back in New York. And you gotta get a coach that New York doesn't faze him. You got to get a coach where New York don't faze him. Bill Parcells, New York didn't faze him. Tom Coughlin, New York didn't faze him. Jim Fossil, New York didn't faze him. You need to get a coach like that in that locker room where New York don't faze him. The media don't faze him. And I don't think Brian Daboll is that guy, especially when your offensive lineman, he is out here clubbing people upside their head like he Deacon Jones. And now all of a sudden you pull him from the game, and now he over there trying to fight you as the coach because of the mistake he's making. Have you not been correcting him about that all season? Have you not been correcting him about that in practice? Or is there something larger at play? Have you completely lost control of that locker room? That didn't happen when Tom Coughlin was there. He said either fall in line or fall 37 stories. And that's the type of guy that you need sometimes. Sometimes you don't need the players coach. Sometimes you need somebody that's going to come in and say fall in line or fall 37 stories. And that's what New York Giants need. They need that type of coach. They need another Tom Coughlin or Bill Parcells. When they had those high discipline type of coaches, that's when they won. When they had guys with a lot of discipline that was a strict disciplinarian that knew how to turn that discipline on and create the enthusiasm around that team, that's when they won. When they start bringing in these little coordinators, that's when they start losing. You notice the difference. Jim Fossil, Bill Parcells, Tom Coughlin. Those are the three coaches that went to Super Bowls in New York. New York did not faze them, and that team was well disciplined. That's who took them to Super Bowls. It's a pattern.
Well said, brother. Oh, and also too, I know you're on your diet and your fitness regime. Shout out to Costco. They selling chicken and waffles for $7.
Nice. Glad it ain't a Costco nowhere near me. I got to drive all the way to Atlanta to go to a Costco, and I ain't driving an hour and 30 minutes. So, Yeah. Shout out to Costco. Oh, shout out to Costco for keeping your hot dogs $1.50. You know,
Yeah.
shout out to Costco's. But yeah, man, shout out to Costco's. They've been doing a lot of good things outside of their food prices. We'll leave it at that.
Big fella, let's talk about a little college football. Your Bulldogs, the victory over Tennessee. What were your thoughts?
I was scared the whole game because Aguilar, when Aguilar, Joey Aguilar, when he came out there that first drive and marched down that field on the no huddle offense, I looked at my best friend and said, "This is gonna be a long day right here. I'm finna be upset this whole game because I knew this was about to be a long game. And had it not been for that dad blame kicker who's very, very young, we would have lost that game. We would have lost that game. I was scared the entire game because that Joey Aguilar is poised. And at the end of the day, Tennessee, I know you're our rival, me being a Georgia Bulldog, but you did the right thing by letting Nico go to UCLA. And you see where UCLA is versus where you are right about now. You have a chance to make the college football playoff still, although you lost to us, and we may very well see you again soon. But you did the right thing by letting him go. And I hope a lot of other young men learn from that. The grass ain't always greener on the other side. You went from making $4 million to $1.5 million because you want to switch schools, and now you're 0-3 and your coach just got fired, probably because of you.
It had to be because of him.
Yeah. So yeah.
But you got to be happy with your quarterback, Stockton.
Oh my God. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. It seems like Coach Bobo is letting him roam free. He's unleashing the leashes off that playbook versus he didn't do that with Carson Beck last year. It seems like it was a more conservative approach with Carson versus, with Gunner right now. He's letting him use his athleticism. It's a lot more of an explosive offense, kind of like when Todd Monken was there. We could never replace a Todd Monken, but they're letting him air that ball out like a ceiling fan. And that fourth down play where he threw that ball to Cash, that was nothing short of amazing, man. Right over the shoulder. And that was able to bring us back and put us back in the ball game. I'm scared for next week because unfortunately we have to face the only team that ever beat us when we wear our black jerseys, and a team that we only beat one time in the past couple of years. We got to face Alabama, and I'm slick scared. So, hopefully we get it done in Alabama. I don't look when it's Alabama. I don't care who the coach is. I don't talk trash. That's Alabama. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like the New England Patriots. I don't talk trash. All right, be quiet. Wait till the game over. But we gonna have our hands full with Ryan Williams because he gave us all that we can handle last year. But we have a chance. Everything is going against us. The last team to beat us when we was at home was Alabama. The last team that beat us at home when we wore the blackout jersey was Alabama. The last team to really beat us handedly in the SEC was Alabama. So there's a lot going against us. But I think that this year with the explosive offense that we're going to have this year, that Coach Bobo was able to kind of release the chains off of Gunnar Stockton, and Nate Frazier is playing some of his best ball. I think we have a chance at winning. So go Dogs. Keep track of Ryan Williams at all time. I'm very, very surprised that he doesn't get the same loves of Jeremiah Smith sometimes. I'm very, very surprised at that. I really think that him and Jeremiah Smith are the Julio and the AJ Green of this era as far as college football is concerned. But I really wish that they would give Ryan Williams a little bit more credit than they are, because that game last year kind of submitted him. And they're like I said, they have a chance this upcoming draft. I think it's the draft after this one. I don't think they're eligible to next year's draft. They have a chance next year in that draft to be just like Julio and AJ Green was. And I can see something like that happening. So don't be surprised if one goes number 1 overall and the other goes 3. That's how good they really are, and that's how much of a difference those two players, that being Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams, can make 14. I'm fully convinced of that. The way they raved about Maserati Mar, I think that those two players can make the same difference. And I think that we'll be raving about them next year when they come out of the draft.
I think so, man. But Joey Aguilar, despite the 2 interceptions, he played very well. And Chris Brazel the second, boy, he was torching the Georgia Bulldogs secondary champ, and that's going to be a concern. And look, good thing for you, you got a week off, so you have enough time. But look, Alabama still, even though they're 2-1, that tough loss on the road to Florida State.
Yeah.
All you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to put pressure on Ty Simpson, because it's Jesse Palmer, as he mentioned while I was watching the Wisconsin Alabama game. If you give Ty Simpson some time in the pocket, he's gonna be cool as the other side of the pillow, in the words of the late great Stuart Scott. But if you put pressure on Ty Simpson, and look, with Gunnar Stockton, he's obviously, in my opinion, he's more of a difference than Carson Beck, because Carson Beck is more of like a stationary target. I love Gunnar's ability to run the football. He provides that component, unlike Carson Beck. But when you give Gunnar opportunities to take chances like he did, you just got to roll with it. And I think he's going to be good. And look, the only thing I wish Georgia would have done better running the football, although you had 198 rushing yards, but 3.6 yards per carry. So that is a concern right there. But Alabama's defense is not what it used to be.
No.
Kalen DeBoer, you talked about Kalen DeBoer. So Alabama is not the Alabama of old. So this may be an opportunity for Georgia to win this one, especially the fact that Georgia's getting tired of losing to Alabama. Even though you've won the national championships, even though back-to-back seasons, you still can't get over, especially that tough loss last year.
Yeah, that was a very tough loss last year, man. They man, just one. I just need one. I just need this one from you, Georgia. Yeah, we playing at home. Don't let nobody come into your house, turn over the trash can, and walk out the front door.
You going to the game?
No, I'm not going to that one. But I'm gonna sit at home and watch that one.
If Mama Champ gave you tickets to that game, would you go?
Yeah, I will go. But look, there's a tradition that me and the Wolfpack has. We watch that game together. Hopefully, it'll bring us good luck. Last time, and all of us will be there this time, much like the national championship. Usually, when we play Alabama, it's a few of us, but we made it our business. When all of us were there, when we played Alabama in the national championship, all of us came in there collectively, and we was able to win the natty. So all of the Wolfpack will be there when we watch Alabama take on our Georgia Bulldogs. So hopefully that brings us the extra luck that we need, man.
All right, let's get into some NFL picks. Week 3. Week 3. For NFL picks, week 3. Green Bay at Cleveland. Green Bay is a 7.5-point favorite. Green Bay. Colts at Titans. Titans are a 4.5-point underdog.
Colts. Mm-hmm.
Now, this one, Bengals at Vikings. Remember, Joe Burrow will be out 3 months due to turf toe injury he suffered last week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. That, correct me if I'm wrong, Champ, that will require surgery. J.J. McCarthy, he's going to be out 2 to 4 weeks due to a high ankle sprain. I got Minnesota.
Cincinnati. I think Browning, he did pretty good when he was the star quarterback. And I'm anxious to see what they're going to do, what he's going to do against that Tom Flores defense. If he does great against that Tom Flores defense, I got some Brian Flores. Excuse me, I said Tom Flores. God bless him too. Hall of Fame. But Brian Flores defense, he'll have a coaching job by next year.
But again, Zach Taylor's record without Joe Burrow, that's another important stat to bring up, though.
Yep, it is. But I want to see what you gonna do, man. How you gonna handle it? Josh Browning went 4-3 the last time that you put him in, and you almost went to the playoffs. So gonna be interesting.
Interesting. All right, next one. Steelers at Patriots. and Pittsburgh's a 2.5-point favorite.
The Patriots.
I agree too. I think is Christian Gonzalez back?
No, sir, he is not. And the Steelers have given up thus far 31.5 points in the NFL. So they've given up 35.1 points in the last two games. So yeah, they might add him out like a Steelers fan. Plus, guys, Stephon Diggs got a little extra added motivation in order to get in order to keep that contract. So,
well, we know why. We know why. We
I
don't need
don't
to go
blame
any
you. I
further.
don't blame you one bit, Stephon Diggs. I salute you, by the way.
Now this one right here, Rams at Eagles. Eagles are a 3.5-point favorite. Again, the rematch of the divisional round. Matthew Stafford may have the best chance to beat the Eagles. And depending on the weather, because again, remember, it was snowing that day in Philadelphia. Matthew Stafford doesn't have the greatest record in the world when it comes to snow or inclement weather. But if it's a sunny day, make no mistake about it, and he's your Georgia Bulldog. And again, the Eagles got to deal with the secondary. Their secondary, they got to deal with Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. Now, if they got to deal with that, and they got to find a way to stop Kieran Williams, which I believe they'll handle. Now, on the other side, the Rams defense ain't nothing to sneeze about.
You're fourth in the league as far as yards.
But Saquon Barkley has torched them the last couple of games. So who you got, big fella? I'm going with Philly.
We roll deep. Stay on it. Drink and pack heat. Requirements for survival each day in LA.
You going with the Rams?
I'm going with LA.
Wow.
I'm going with LA.
All right. Oh, Jets at Bucks. Bucks are a 6.5-point favorite.
The Bucks.
And Tyrod Taylor.
Baker Mayfield is about to go out there. He'll put up we might have a 40 burger this game.
I hope. And unfortunately for the Jets, Justin Fields will not play because of concussion. Tyrod Taylor will step in.
Hey, Baker, air him out like a Steelers fan, brother.
All right. Raiders at Commanders. Washington is a 2.5-point favorite. Unfortunately for them, Jaden Daniels will not play, sprained knee. I'm not surprised at all, champ, that they're going to set him out. Look, because it's too early in the season. Why force him to play? He has a sprained knee. Mariota's a good enough backup as it is. Let Jaden Daniels sit. We'll be fine without him. As for the Raiders, they're coming off a tough Monday Night Football loss to the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't believe Geno will play as bad. Ashton Genty, I mean, the yards per carry, that is a concern, but it's not really on him. Sometimes you got to look at the offensive line as well. I'll still give the Commanders the win, but I don't think it's going to be easy.
No, it's not. And I think that they're going to try to get Ashton Genty a full head of steam this game. But I'm still taking the Commanders. Hell, Commanders.
All right. Oh, this one is an easy one for you. Atlanta at Carolina.
F-I-L-A. Forever. I love Atlanta. And if you thought we put something on J.J. McCarthy, wait, you see what we do to Bryce Young. We got something for you. Very special. Cooked up in a pot. Shake it, not stirred.
What happens if Bryce Young does the unthinkable and beat your Falcons?
I'll take a shot with you live on television next week.
Or you might have to do the what the hell going on in Miami.
Yeah.
Shout out to our guy Harrison. Texans at Jaguars. Jaguars are a 1.5-point favorite.
Quarterback can't throw on his back. So, yeah. Jacksonville.
Saxonville. Broncos at Chargers. Chargers are a 2.5-point favorite. Justin Herbert has been playing some really good football, 560 yards, which is an average of 280 yards per game, 5 touchdown passes. Quentin Johnston has been playing terrific so far, 8 catches, 150 total yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, Denver, I got the Chargers.
The Los Angeles Superchargers still have trouble calling y'all Los Angeles Chargers, not the San Diego Superchargers, but Los Angeles Superchargers. So,
Saints at Seattle. Seattle's a 7.5-point favorite.
the Seattle.
Cowboys at Bears. Dallas is a 1.5-point favorite. I'm going to go Dallas on this one because to me, I have no faith in Chicago's defense. They've given up 39.5 points the past 2 games. We talk about Caleb Williams all we want. And yes, Caleb has not done a good enough job as far as throwing within the pocket. But we have to look at Chicago's defense. When we think defense, you think the Eagles, the Ravens, the Steelers, and at one point Chicago. That's now gone now, champ. I think this should be a game in which Dak throws for about 330, at least 3 touchdowns. CD gets like $120, $125. George Pickens gets at least 5 for 80 yards, maybe a touchdown. I see the Cowboys win this one 35, Bears 20.
44-15. That's how badly they're gonna beat them. I don't think they're gonna put Caleb in some very uncomfortable situations that game. Very uncomfortable. And they're not gonna be able to come from behind. Unfortunately for them. And we can talk all this about Caleb, but guess what? When your defense can't stop nobody, I mean, you're not gonna win that many games. I don't care if you got the high look. I wish people paid more attention to Air Coryell. Air Coryell was the best offense to ever touch the NFL, yet they never won a Super Bowl because they couldn't stop nobody. They couldn't stop anybody. That's the bottom line. You got to be able to stop somebody in this league, especially when you're passing, especially the way they're passing nowadays. You got to be willing. You got to be willing and able to stop somebody. You're not able to stop nobody, you're gonna be in a bad state of affairs.
Ain't that the truth? All right, let's look at the next couple of games. Cardinals at 49ers. San Fran is a 1.5-point favorite.
Shout out to Pops, 49ers.
I'm going to go with Arizona. I'm going to go with Arizona on this one. Let's see, Kyler, come on. Chiefs at Giants. KC is a 6.5-point favorite. I'm going to go with New York.
I think Kansas City gets back on track this game. If they don't, they go 0-3. Oh, it's going to be some smoke in the city.
And Monday night, Lions at Ravens. Baltimore is a 4.5-point favorite. I expect a big, thrilling game, champ. I say Baltimore 35, Lions 33. And I think Lamar Jackson has a 300-yard game. Derrick Henry runs for $110, $120. Zay Flowers gets over 100 yards receiving. Jared Goff is going to have a good game as well. I got Ravens 35, Lions 33.
Uncle Lamar, go get him.
All right. Now, my favorite subject, babyface or heel. Now, for those who may not know what babyface heel means in wrestling terminology, babyface is a good guy. Heel is a bad guy. Tweener is someone in between babyface or heel. So I come up with a list of athletes, celebrities, or whoever, And me and the panel, we are going to decide whether they are a babyface, heel, or tweener. First one, Caleb Williams.
Tweener. I'll say tweener because look, a lot of unfairness gets aimed his way. People want to talk about the fingernail polish, which, by the way, if you really pay attention to it, he's bringing attention and awareness to different causes. I think last week he did it was National Unaliving Week.
It was the Monday Night Football game against Minnesota.
Yeah, he was bringing awareness to people unaliving themselves, kind of keep it PG and PC at this point, but he was bringing awareness to that. That's why he painted his nails. And, the fashion, look, we see all of this fashion going on at her tunnel on the WNBA side. We see these players come in with suits in the NBA. We've seen a lot of different guys come in, with different bravados. So I don't understand why that hate is heralded against Caleb Williams. They hold it against him crying on the sideline in his mother's arms when, hey, didn't Bo Nix do the same thing when he got his tail kicked in that Pac-12 championship game? Yes, he did. He sat on the sideline and he cried. So guess what? Why are we holding it against that young man? At the same time, he does give off this air of cockiness, but who doesn't want their quarterback to have that belief in himself? Now, if his play were a lot better at this point, I will say it will be a lot easier for him to deal with. But at this point, it hasn't been a pretty situation. It's gotten ugly. In the great words of Jay-Z, super ugly. So, yeah, I'll label him as a tweener for now. If you ask the casual fan, they don't like the way he dresses. They don't like the way he do certain things. Me personally, as a very, very open-minded type of guy, I'm like, that doesn't matter as long as he can play. Let's see if he can play. If he can't play, then okay. But let's see if he can play. That's my thing. I don't have no problem with the nail polish. Look, my favorite player growing up in basketball history was Dennis Rodman. That was my favorite player because of his rebounding, because of his defense. He joined the NWO. He had all the girls, and he had tattoos, and he dyed his hair. And he had fingernail polish and stuff, and he wore these outrageous Prince outfits, these Captain Crunch suits, and
the wedding dress.
So, yeah, he was outrageous. So I don't think, and Caleb is not loud. If you really, really look at it, he's not very, very loud. He takes accountability for his mistakes. But for some reason, people are going to take the optics and blow that up into something crazy.
Not to mention the position he plays.
Yes, because of the position that he played. And we've seen outrageous before. Look, let's not act like we ain't seen outrageous before in Chicago. We've seen outrageous before in Chicago. Look at Jim McMahon. Jim McMahon was outrageous. He literally showed his buttocks to the helicopter when they zoomed around him right before the Super Bowl. We've seen outrageous before. But when your team is not winning, you're not able to navigate that. And he didn't do anything as nearly as outrageous as Jim McMahon. Jim McMahon did some outrageous and said some outrageous things. But he's nowhere near that. But, because of the optics, because of the machismo, because of the macho of the everyday American football fan, he's a tweener because of that. Plus, everybody's talking about, well, he asked for equity and stuff. Look, who's not going to try to get something new in their contract? Who's not going to try that? Hey, if somebody going to try something, if somebody's willing to give, you may not, the worst answer you can get is no. The worst answer you can get is no. And if you're trying to look, before Reggie White, the late great one, sued the NFL for free agency, there was no unrestricted free agency. Before Spencer Haywood sued the NBA and took them to court, there was no NBA players that was eligible to come out of high school. So guess what? In order for certain things and precedents to be set in the future, somebody have to do it in the right now. So I have no problem with him trying to see what he can get as far as equity is concerned. as far as pieces of the franchise, as far as getting his money sent to an LLC so it won't get, taxed as much. I have no problem with it. But because we live in an era, there's a divide in this era and previously. I am of the mindset of let these young men get what they can. I'm all for guys and women, as evident. I'm a huge fan of the WNBA. I'm all for them getting what I could not have. But there's still this disconnect between, the new athlete and the old athlete of be grateful, be grateful, be grateful. I say to hell with that. Get what you can, because it's only going to be here for a certain period of time. The average career in sports is only 3 to 5 years, and that's if everything goes right. So yeah, there's a disconnect between the old guard and the new guard, and the new school athlete and the old school athlete. That's how come Caleb gets a lot of criticism that he does. Not to mention, he's not playing well, and that talent that we saw at USC is not really translating right about now. If you really, really look at it, every quarterback from Lincoln Riley's system has succeeded at least by year 2. If you look at Baker,
Kyler, Jalen Hurts,
yeah, they were all succeeding by year 2. So the fact that he's not succeeding right about now is, everybody's kind of concerned. But in fairness to Caleb, we're judging him like a year 5 quarterback when we should be judging Trevor Lawrence like that. But I digress.
No, you're not digressing. He's speaking the truth, because Trevor Lawrence coming out of college was overhyped, champ. People comparing him to Andrew Luck, and I didn't really see that. I knew he was talented, but I think he had a lot of help during his time in Clemson.
Yeah.
He had Dabo Swinney. He had Justin Ross. He had T. Higgins. He had Trevor Etienne. He had a good enough defense with Brett Venables, who's now our head coach with Oklahoma. Yeah. So when I look at Caleb, he's a tweener. Yes, because of the fingernails, his style, his personality. I think football fans don't like it, especially the hardcore football fans. And they also don't like it because he's a quarterback, because he's the leader, the spokesman of the team. They feel like you should dress just like everyone else. I don't really care. And I really get tired of some of us as podcasters, content creators, and some of us as football fans questioning his sexuality. My thing is, I don't care. I don't care if he's gay or whatever. Can he play? Is he a good enough quarterback? That is how I'm going to evaluate Caleb. Has he played well? No. He's shown you some flashes of what he can be. He's got to get better as far as with the football, champ, as far as throwing within the football, throwing within the pocket, and then, of course, the offensive line. Look, the Bears, they've done their part by giving him an offensive line. You've said it all the time. Quarterback cannot throw on his back. And last year, he was the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. Okay, year 2, a new offensive line, much improved offensive line, and we give you Ben Johnson, who's calling the offensive plays for you. And still, it's only been 2 games, and it hasn't panned out well. So what is it? Is it coaching? And yes, Caleb is an easy target because, after all, the criticism of both he and his father. Remember, champ, before the 2024 NFL draft, a possibility, and I think his father mentioned that there was a possibility Caleb could stay another year at USC. I'm like, nah, Caleb, you better get up out of here, because there's no guarantee you're going to win a national championship, because USC, they're going to move to the Big Ten. You talk about the competition being that difficult for you in the Pac-12. Imagine what you're going to be in the Big Ten. And look, people talk about Caleb Williams with the fingernails and him crying onto his mom. Chicago fans, I don't want to hear that, because you had Jay Cutler, who did not show any ounce of passion whatsoever. You said it, champ. He's like the modern version of Jeff George, a guy who didn't give a damn.
Even Warren Moon called him out on it, because remember, they was criticizing Cam Newton about his passion. He said, I'd rather have him than Jay Cutler. because it doesn't seem like Jay Cutler, if you really look at his demeanor, it doesn't seem like he gives a damn.
He never
So,
did.
yeah, except to cash that check that he pretty much didn't earn. So, look, give this young man grace. Not you, but give the masses, to the fans. Give this young man grace because guess what? He has a new coach in a new system in a franchise that is not particularly known for developing quarterback. Their best quarterback, their best quarterback in the franchise's history is Sid Gilman, and that was back before, way before when. And then in recent memory, you got to talk about the last quarterback to even make a damn Pro Bowl there was what's the damn quarterback name?
Who? From 06?
No, not Rich Grossman. It was the guy who went with Patrick Mahomes, who got drafted along with Patrick
Oh,
Mahomes.
Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah, he was the last quarterback in order to make a damn Pro Bowl, and he won all that. So guess what? Take your time with this young man, and let's give this young man some grace. He's in year 2, new system, new players, in a system, in a franchise that is not known for developing quarterbacks. There has not been not one long-term quarterback in Chicago in recent memory that has been just successful for a long period of time. When you think about Chicago, you think about linebacker, defense, safety, running back. That's what you think about, and a speedster at the receiver position. That's what you think about. Historically. So you really don't really think about the quarterback position other than they bring some guy in there in order to get them a few big plays. They let the defense and the running back do the rest. They did that on their way to the Super Bowl. Remember, Thomas Jones was the running back. So,
right.
Yeah.
And when you look at Chicago right now, in defense, team defense, they're 31st in the NFL in team defense. 31st in the NFL. They are, let me see right here. They are 22nd in passing defense. In passing defense in the NFL. They give up the 10th most passing yards per game, 234 yards passing per game. In scoring defense, they're number 1 as far as worst scoring defense. 32nd in the NFL in scoring defense. They give up 39 points, 39 and a half points per game, champ. 39 and a half points per game. And this is the Chicago Bears, and they're known for defense. From from Dent, Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs, William the Refrigerator Perry, Cedric Peanut Tillman,
Dick Butkus, Doug Atkins, just to name a few. You guys, like I said, give this young man grace. He's in year 2, not in year 9, not in year 5, and not in year 4. If he was in year 4 and we was giving him hell, I understand. Because after year 3, especially when you're in the second year of the system, then you should have been learning everything by about now. You're coming up on that contract, and it's time to decide what to do with it. But he's in year 2. He's not even, the year ain't even finished yet. He's a year and 3 games into it. Show some grace to this young man, because like I said, you got quarterbacks out here like Tua and Trevor Lawrence with multi-million-dollar contract, $200 million contracts, being paid like top talent that ain't doing diddly. And the saddest thing is Tua has the talent around him in order to succeed.
All right, champ. Next one. Jalen Carter.
Heel. And I hate to say that because he's a bulldog, but heel, at least for now. Number one, for you to go out there and spew liquid on somebody, that's one thing. But you already had issues coming into the season, coming into the NFL as it was. Now, rumors has it that his coach is saying he's not even in the best shape in the world. So you're playing yourself. Great words of Ice-T, don't play yourself. You gonna come up. I don't understand this about a lot of players. You're gonna come up on that next contract very, very soon. It's gonna be sooner than you think. And when you come up on that next contract, you got to think about everything that they're going to be holding against you in order to not pay you. You don't want the fact that you haven't been a model citizen to be held against you. You don't want that. So you had a guy in the form of Shamar Stewart coming out of Texas who never had a character issue a day in his life. And they tried to do in Cincinnati, tried to put that character clause in there. You want your money, and you don't want it to be held up because of the possibility of you making a silly mistake. You are what you constantly do. You're constantly getting in trouble. You're constantly you're constant. It's constant. You're talented. You're talented. One of the best defensive tackles in the league, right behind, I'll say, Dexter Lawrence.
There's him. There's Dexter Lawrence. There's Jeffrey Simmons.
And Jared Verse.
But if he's not careful, champ, he's going to become more Ndamukong Suh than Aaron Donald.
Exactly. But like I said, heal, because you got to learn when to stop doing certain stuff. You got to learn when to stop. You got to learn when to get out of your own way. You got to learn to control this and let the mind control the body and not the body control the mind. And honestly, I don't care who's baiting you, who's saying something to you. Learn when to STFU and go ahead and just play the game. People are going to say, well, Dak spit at him first. It doesn't matter. Because everybody has been into a fight at school. If you grew up in our generation, everybody's been into a fight at school where you know you was just defending yourself, but yet you got in trouble because they saw your reaction. It's always the reaction that gets the penalty. It's not the person who started most of the time who gets the penalty. It's the reaction that gets the penalty. And in any event, what in the blank are you doing on their side of the field, on their side of the ball in the first place? Why are you over there? So for that reason, young man, get your mind right, get your body right, get your spirit right, get it together. But for as of right now, you are an undisputed heel in my book.
Heel at this point because he's starting to become more unlikable, champ. The spitting incident, look, Dak did initiate spitting, but he didn't spit at Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter spit at Dak Prescott, and that was low, what Jalen Carter did. When you spit on someone, that's an indication of how you feel about that person. Jalen Carter, and unfortunately, what Jalen Carter did was he gave credence to all those scouts and executives that were reluctant or hesitant by taking him early in the draft. Now, he did end up going 9th overall to the Philadelphia Eagles, but had it not been for character concerns, he would have been higher. You mentioned, as a Bulldogs fan, champ, you wouldn't want him in Atlanta.
No, he had to get away from the state of Georgia. He had to get away from the state of Georgia.
There was no way in hell that the Raiders would take him because you've dealt with a lot of character issues.
It was just too much. And young man, I just want that young man to get himself together, man. You are spitting on people. You already had character issues coming out. There's a lawsuit still going on between you and members of certain families because of a certain accident that happened. And now coach is saying that you're out of shape. You are hurting yourself, young man. You are hurting yourself, and you are playing yourself. And look, it ain't all about the money, but it's all about that money. You are one of the top defensive tackles in the league. Control your emotions, control your mouth, and be quiet. And I don't ever want to tell a person to shut up and dribble, but when you've had the character issues like Jalen Carter has had, you need to shut up and dribble. Hey, it's kind of like being on punishment, man. When you on punishment, and your mom and dad are in the house, you don't let them hear a peep out of you. You clean up your room, you vacuum your room, you stand there, you do your homework, you have your homework on the table so they can check it, and you stay the hell out of the way until it's time for you to get ungrounded and it's time for you to get your allowance so you can walk out the door in the weekends.
And he's too good of a talent to be involved in these types of situations, champ.
Yeah,
I don't think Shannon Sharp mentioned this on Nightcap. Jalen Carter may not realize just how good he is. And it's a shame that Jalen keeps putting himself in these types of situations. And I don't know what will. You would think that Philadelphia, of all places, would be an ideal landing spot for him because of the leadership with Brandon Graham, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey. He'll reunite with his former teammate, Jordan Davis, Jalen Hurts, Howie Roseman. You would think this would be a good landing spot for Jalen Carter to grow and evolve, not only as a football player, but also as a man. And still, he keeps revisiting the same old problems. He keeps showing people who he was before, the character concerns. Now you're giving the team who drafted you, you're giving them enough leverage not to give you a long-term contract.
exactly.
And I mean, it's really unfortunate, but thank God he has the God-given ability and talent. But more importantly, it's just up here with the young man. He just needs guidance. He just needs leadership. He just needs to get it together. Otherwise, it's going to be going a lot sooner than later.
Yes, indeed.
All right, last one for babyface or heel. Interesting one for babyface or heel. We've done Caleb Williams. We've done Jalen Carter. Gilbert Arenas.
You know what? I'll call him a tweener, man. I have to call him a tweener. He's outrageous, but some of the stuff that he says is valid. Has a little bit of validity to it. He's way too big of a fan of the hot take for me personally, but sometimes you need that from a former player. But he's outrageous, but it's not to a certain extent where it's so out of hand that you just like you don't know what you're talking about and you know better than that. I think that he's a tweener, and because you remember some of the antics that he pulled up there in Washington, with the pew-pews and all that other stuff. And,
well, what about the other controversy that he had with the South Sudan? Remember what he said about them when Team USA barely beat them? The Ahi tribe, the Cool Runnings team.
I did not remember that, but thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, I did not remember that. That was a hoot, to say the least. But yeah, I'll label him a tweener. I mean, I can't label him a full-fledged heel, but he's very, very
comical. Remember how he left the jail?
Remember how he said he gonna sing like Luther? What the? Oh, Gilbert, don't change, man. Sometimes I hate you, and sometimes you kind of remind me of one of my relatives. And it's just like when you around, you say some of the most crazy shit I ever heard. But at the same time, it's forgivable because it's you. But oh, Gilbert, Agent Zero. What's so funny about that, man? It had his career lasted longer, he would have been he'd have been in the Hall of Fame right now, man. Because he was just that great. He was just that great. But unfortunately, man, all the controversies and injuries cut his career short. But he hasn't jumped off that cliff in order to be a heel, but he damn close to it. So
I mean, look, he helped Skip Bayless out. I mean, look, he helped Skip Bayless out. Now Skip Bayless is joining his pod, the football pod. And look, I'll give Skip Bayless credit. He's done a good enough job dealing with the other personalities, dealing with not only Gilbert, but also Keith Talib, also Richie Incognito. But at the same time, Skip's got to be careful because Skip has a tendency of going a little too far at times, particularly with former professional athletes. So you got to keep an eye on that.
Look, I'm going to just be real, man. We have an old saying down south. Skip Bayless one of those guys. He know who to try. Look, I got Three very, very volatile personalities on there. I'm treading carefully. Richie Incognito. Enough said. That's enough to make the baddest man in the boss sit down. You know,
Talib.
He's had his troubles. And Gilbert. Those are way too many personalities, and I can't diffuse or dial back a situation. So nah, I'm good. People know who to try. The people know how to. Shannon Sharp, although he had his controversies, he's so lighthearted at times, and you saw it on the show that, you know, sometimes when you're lighthearted, people kind of take the stuff a little bit too far. And then you have to remind them, hey man, chill. But you know, Shannon is so lighthearted. He's not malicious. He's not just that guy who just now when you push him to be, he's gonna be that guy. But he's not the guy that's just gonna take it there with you at the drop of a hat. If you do so much, pat your hair sideways, he's gonna knock your teeth out. If you push him to, he will. But you know, he's not as volatile as Richie Incognito, Akeem Talib, and Gilbert Arenas. So I think that's the reason when you're very, very lighthearted, you don't take everything too serious. You always got a joke. And I could attest to this because I'm that way. People have a tendency to overstep their boundaries just a little bit. And then, you know, then when a teddy bear leaves, you got to bring out the grizzly and show somebody some things. But that's how Shannon is. These cats that he's with right now, these are full-fledged wolves. So
yeah,
I don't think
very careful.
Yeah, you got to be real. You got to tread carefully when it comes to them guys. So I think he knows what he's doing when he joined them.
He's got to be very careful because again, personalities. And look, Skip Bayless did a lot of things back then. We all know about the Troy Aikman incident, to which Deion Sanders had to check him.
Yes.
Remember what he did with Shannon Sharp.
Yes.
Remember the situation with Richard Sherman.
Yes. And all of those guys had one thing in common. They were very, very lighthearted, very, very playful, very, very, you know, unserious. Like I said, me being an unserious guy myself who try not to overshow your hand at a certain point. People have a tendency to overstep a little bit. And like I said, I've been there, but you know, you really kind of, hey man, chill, you know. And you tell them in subtle ways, like, all right, you know, and they get, and you know, everybody who knows you know that look when you say, all right. But you know, yeah, you gotta, you know, those guys were very, very lighthearted, and you know, that's why Skip kind of stepped over. But these guys, they're very, very volatile. Deion, he doesn't even curse. Richard Sherman, he's very, very lighthearted, doesn't take anything too serious, loves the game of football, loves what he does. Shannon Sharp, the same thing, able to laugh despite himself. These guys, they don't play. So, yeah, I think Skip will be all right as long as he realizes who he's going with.
Well, as long as he doesn't overstep his boundaries, I think he'll be fine.
Yes, indeed.
But speaking of sports media, what were your thoughts about Molly Karam's departure from ESPN?
That was very, very suddenly, I will say. I did not expect that at all. Regardless of some, you know, she would interrupt the commentators at times and have her own little soliloquies that she likes to go on. But at the same time, I liked her on the show, man. I know a lot of hardcore sports fans didn't like Molly, but I like Molly. I like Molly, you know. But I didn't have anything against her. She, you know, for the most part, there were some things that she said that was outrageous, but for the most part, she knew what she was talking about for the most part. But I didn't have anything against her being on the show, man. She was on there for 10 years for a reason. Plus, you know, she's a pretty lady. So I didn't have a problem with her being on the show, man. It was suddenly the way she left. I mean, it was so subtly because it would have been different if it was a lot of controversy going on, a lot of different things that was going on at a certain point. It would have been different if that was going on and we knew some things were going on behind the scenes, but it wasn't. And that's why it's so shocking at this point in time. So, man, big ups to Molly, man. You know, hey, you know, having to deal with Stephen A for 10 years is not an easy task. It's not an easy task. I mean, especially when you've lived through a lot of co-hosts and things of that nature. So it's not an easy task. So for you to deal with that for 10 whole years, and Stephen A. spoke very, very glowingly about her too. Everybody spoke very, very glowingly about it. For you to deal with that for 10 years and not, cough up a hairball is nothing short of amazing. But Molly, I miss seeing you on TV, man. I'm hoping that you find your podcast, your niche very, very soon. And look, like I said, I know a lot of hardcore sports fan didn't used to like her, but like I said, I'm very, very lighthearted. And look, I'm willing to hear anybody out, almost anybody out. So yeah, I'm gonna miss Molly on the show.
Champ, I'm conflicted because I gotta be honest with you, man. I'm not the biggest Molly Karam fan in the world. Now I'm being honest.
At least you're honest about it, and I'm glad you're honest about it. Because, like I said, you're not the first person I heard say that, man. A lot of the internet is a cruel place, and they didn't like her on the show. So,
No, I mean, I just didn't like Molly Karam as a moderator. I thought at times she was too loud, annoying, and interruptive. And I thought there were times she was reaching, particularly the Ezekiel Elliott situation. Remember when Ezekiel Elliott was suspended for 6 games for domestic violence?
mm-hmm.
And remember, if you go back and if you watch YouTube, some of the things Molly Karam said, I felt like to me she was jumping to conclusions without knowing all the facts and details. And I thought that was irresponsible on her part as a reporter, as a journalist, or someone in the media. And that has been my issue with Molly Karam. And for those who may say that I'm being rude, disrespectful, unfair, I've seen other female moderators who have done a better job on ESPN and Fox Sports. Joy Taylor, although she's viewed negatively because of the accusations, which led to her departure from Fox Sports. But when Undisputed launched, I thought she did a good enough job as the moderator dealing with personalities just as Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. I also saw Jenny Taft, who took over for Joy Taylor on Undisputed. I also saw Ross Golden Wunde, who I like a lot, as well as you do, champ. There were times in which Molly Karam was not there. She had days off. Ross Golden Wunde stepped in. Antonita Collins, Monica Coleman. I've seen a lot of other women. Monica McNutt.
Monica
I've seen, yeah, I've seen a lot of other women who've done a better job than Molly Karam. As a moderator, I'm just no fan of Molly Karam because I always thought she was loud, annoying, and interruptive. And for those who may think I'm being unfair or even going as far as calling me a sexist or a misogynist, go look at all the videos on YouTube. There's compilation videos of Molly Karam being the things that I just described. And just see it for yourself. Take the time to watch it for yourself. And if you think I'm still wrong, then I don't know what else to tell you. Now, as far as her career, I do think her having her own show, that would be best for her. She can have her own podcast, her own platform to talk about whatever she wants to talk about. I just think it was time for a new change on First Take with the moderator, because to me, it seemed like Molly Karam wanted to be both the moderator and the debater. For whatever reason, why she left, who knows? I mean, this is what she said on her Instagram page. Quote, after much reflection, I've decided it's time to close this incredible chapter and step away from First Take. Hosting this show has been one of the greatest honors of my career. Every morning, I had the privilege of sharing the desk with some of the most brilliant, passionate, and entertaining voices in sports, and with all of you, the best fans in the world. I'm so grateful for what this journey has given me. Lifelong friendships, unforgettable memories, and the chance to be a part of something truly special. Now, who's going to be the replacement for First Take? Could it be Peter Schrager, who works with ESPN? Now, he and Ryan Clark, they had their situation on Get Up this morning. So I don't know how is that going to work between Peter Schrager and Ryan Clark, because Ryan Clark does go on First Take, gives his analysis regarding football. Could it be Joy Taylor? I don't know if Joy Taylor is going to be on ESPN, because If you had to leave Fox Sports, how the hell you gonna get to ESPN given what you were accused of, given the lawsuit? So I find it hard to believe Joy Taylor working at ESPN because look, they let go of Shannon Sharp, and he settled. Keep in mind, he settled. Now we don't know whether he's innocent or guilty, but he settled. Champ, you and I, we agreed. Had it not been for a settlement, if he was completely exonerated, Shannon Sharp would still be with ESPN. Now Cam Newton is replacing him. You saw the situation, and plus ESPN. I don't know they're gonna bring back Joy. I mean, you've seen some of the other controversies that they've had. Remember Paul Pierce and what led to his departure of ESPN.
Yeah,
So
I mean, a lot. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see. I mean, you can always bring back Kerry Champion. Kerry Champion was one of the
or Jamel Hill.
Yeah, one of the. I don't think they will bring back Jamel Hill because
No,
they had to pay a settlement to her as well. But I'll say this: I think Kerry Champion will be a great moderator. She was a great moderator when Cold Pizza and First Take was on. So yeah. It's gonna be difficult, but I mean, hey man, with all the talent that you have around that news station, man, you gonna find somebody. You gonna find somebody. I mean, hey man, look, man, y'all looking for a moderator? Look no further than to my left. Look no further than to my left, man. Hey, I'm just saying, look no further than to my left, man. Dude.
I'd be high as a kite. I'd be high as a kite to be doing that stuff.
God damn.
I'd be high as a kite.
In the morning.
I need alcohol. I need Xanax. I don't know how I'm gonna handle that debate desk. That's gonna be a shit of work for PSP to handle, to deal with personalities like Stephen A. And plus, I gotta listen to Kendrick Perkins give lousy basketball takes.
Look, let me break something down. I think that especially that lousy lackluster take that he gave on the MVP voter, bruh. You had to be freebasing that morning. You had to be freebasing that morning. You had to be freebasing that morning. For you to let something that irresponsible come out of your mouth, Kendrick Perkins, about the NBA voters, you had to be freebasing that morning. What were you thinking, my friend?
I don't know. You probably had to all night clubbing, and that's all I can say. He had to be doing something, but again, I told you. I mean, I don't know if I want to be on that debate desk. I mean, Charles Barkley doesn't even want to work at ESPN. What makes you think I would want to work there?
Well, man, they pay me enough money. I go ahead and go. I'll take a dip from the computer world and go deal with Stephen A. Like, hell, I fought 2 wars. I know I can deal with Stephen A. I fought 2 wars. I can deal with Stephen A. Hey, look, man, I have a mentality. When I'm doing a job, long as that check clear, I'm clear. When that check stop, I stop. So
I'll give you that though. Okay, money. Obviously the money and obviously the platform. But man, I'd be high as a kite. I'm gonna need tons of alcohol and caffeine to get me going through the day, dealing with Stephen A. and dealing with Mad Dog Russo, and then dealing with Kendrick Perkins. Because
I mean, like I said, man, they pay me enough money, I can go ahead and I can deal with it. And man, look.
No, I'll tell you which podcast I want to work at.
Always good to be on
Michelle Obama's.
Okay, that's nice.
I don't mind working for. Look, the first lady.
That's intimidating right there, man. She's an Ivy Leaguer and everything, man. That's intimidating.
But Michelle Obama is welcoming.
Yeah, she is. But like I said, I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't be on her podcast, man. I'd be so busy fanboying, man. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, like I said, and that's not because I would have a crush on her or anything like that. That's the first lady. Mm-hmm. That's the first lady. So, I mean,
you should never work with Stephen A. Smith because he's trying to get himself from politics. Well, he is trying to run. He's thought about becoming president. I don't know if I would give him my vote.
I wouldn't vote for his ass for the PTA meeting, much less for president. I wouldn't vote for him for PTA for the president of the damn PTA, much less for the damn president of the United States. I don't know. Look, not to get political, leave the politics as far as major politics. We all have our political opinions and stuff like that, but leave these offices to the politicians. Let's make politics politicians politic again. Not none of this celebrity stuff where you just want to haul your behind up there because you have a powerful opinion. I don't need because the thing is, when you're the president, you in charge of the army. I want somebody who know what the blank they doing when they dealing with the army and dealing with guys, dealing with one of my guys. I used to be in the army, so that's the thing. Politics brings a lot of power. You're the president. You in charge. You're the commander in chief. You're in charge of that army. So I don't think I would trust Stephen A. with the army because he's too damn overly emotional for me. Let's make politics look. I admire anybody's opinion on politics because number one, it takes a hell of a lot to step out because it's going to be politics are not like sports. Sports, in my humble opinion, as long as you're right on the money with what you're talking about, nobody can argue with you. But when it comes to, they might want to argue with you as far as sports is concerned, but they can't as long as your facts are on point. But in politics, human emotion gets way too involved. That's how come I don't mess with politics.
Well, that's because you don't want to end up having the same situation like Jimmy Kimmel.
I wish you wouldn't have brought that up, but yeah, I ain't trying to lose. I ain't
It's the
trying to lose
truth.
my job, but yeah, I ain't trying to lose my job, man. And look, in the great words of someone famous, it ain't worth losing my job over because I want to voice my opinion. And my thing is, at least, look, I'm not saying that you shouldn't voice your opinion. I'm not. But you got to read the room in certain situations, man. You got to read the room. Sometimes, look, I will never tell anybody to shut up and dribble or shut up and do your thing. I'm never going to tell nobody to do something like that. But at the same time, you have to read the room and know when it's the appropriate time in order to say something. You got to read the room because if I'm in the middle of a funeral, do you think that is the time in order to tell jokes about farts? No, that's not. So you got to read the room on certain things. It's a time and a place for every little thing. Like I said, I would never tell anybody not to voice their opinion. At the same time, you have to know the audience that you are. You got to know who watching you, and you got to read the room. And if certain things are happening to us regular folks, then you got to think about what your platform is. Because people on the internet was getting doxxed. And people on the internet were losing their jobs. And people on the internet, things were happening to them. Their address was getting leaked and stuff like that. And you're a high platform guy. I think that's a big risk in order to take. So yeah, you got to think about what people was doing during that time. It's like, okay, now
Well,
it's
with the
not
money,
the time.
with the money that he's making,
With the money that he's making, he got room for error. But at the same time, like I said, I'm going to read that room. You have to read that room very, very carefully. Because hey, if everybody else is getting doxxed, then guess what? They looking for you at this point to wipe your ass sideways before they dox you. Luckily, he has a lawsuit in order to get his job back, but people have been canceled for less, way less.
So I know that, but at the same time, ESPN, they play at fault. You enabled this as well. You gave him that big time contract. He's making nearly 40 million per year. And plus, let's not forget the 3 years Sirius XM contract, 12 million annual salary. So that's 3 years, 36 million.
Yeah, but the thing is this. Look, I'm not going to vote for an entertainment personality. I didn't vote for another entertainment personality. I'm not going to vote for another. Regardless, I loved the president as far as Barack was concerned, but he was a true politician. He was a true politician. I'm not voting for celebrity personalities. I'm just not doing it. Celebrity personality. Let's not let look. Let's not let the presidency become a joke. All right.
It's too late. Oh, it's too late for that
Never
now.
mind. Never mind.
It's too late. It's too late.
Never mind. Let's not let the presidency become more of a joke. I mean, let's not let the presidency become a joke for an ongoing joke for what I mean by a joke. Let's not let it become an ongoing joke for just for celebrities to get into the business and say, I'm a popular celebrity, let me run for president. Let's not do that. That's the wrong button to press because you have to deal with these world leaders who is going to be they have been doing this for years. So let's not let the presidency become a model for celebrities to walk onto a stepping stone and say, I'm going to run for president now since I'm the most known media personality there is. Let's not do that. That is that's something that will really, because at the end of the day, the presidency is all about respectability. It's all about respectability. And when you are respected and when people listen to you, that's the thing. And I don't really think that guys, the chief of staffs and the lieutenants and the officers and all of that in the White House would listen to Stephen A. Smith. I really don't. I don't.
I don't think he would resonate with them.
No.
But
the chief of staff, the commandant, the general of the army, the navy, the admiral, I don't think he would resonate with them. I mean,
you already dealing with one celebrity. Why deal with another?
Yeah, putting it nicely, yes. You're dealing with one celebrity. Let's not deal with another. I mean, let's not, like I said, let's not, because hell, if you let another celebrity win and they win that one, then the next thing, damn content creator, we gonna be able to run for president. I'm gonna run for president. Like,
no, I'm good.
No,
I'm good.
No, I mean, look, no, I'm not gonna be the president because America, you do not want me as your president. I'm telling you not to vote for me.
But you could be a pastor.
No, I'm no angel. So yeah, so I'm no angel. So no, I'm no angel. I try to follow God as best I can, but I'm no angel, man. I have flaws, glaring flaws. They just don't see it on television. but they just don't. Y'all just don't see them on television. So, which is good. I want y'all to see the good side, not the bad side. So yeah.
All right. Next one. Favorite Kofi Kingston moment.
Oh man.
Very athletic dude. Probably the one when Triple H called him out for the Jamaican accent.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That was mine too, man. Getting called out for what happened to your accent. That was Kofi Kingston, very, very underrated. You should have saw how MVP and I think Bobby Lashley and MVP was looking when he became the world heavyweight champion when they was watching it at the bar. They was very, very happy for him being one of the few black world heavyweight champions in WWE history. I think that was great. Thunder in Paradise is a great finisher. Him and his tag team partner from New Day turning on Big E, kicking him out of the New Day. That was great. All of the moments in the New Day was great when they eating the cereal, doing the cereal. I will not be seeing it on live television. I'm not finna get canceled doing my job, but I'm not finna do it. But New Day rocks. Don't you dare be sour. I love that, man. Them hosting WrestleMania, Brock Lesnar coming out and taking the title from Kofi Kingston. There's a lot of moments that he has that I
or
cannot.
Stone Cold.
Yeah, Stone Cold. Look, I think the biggest one was him and New Day hosting WrestleMania in New Orleans.
Yes.
I think that one was good, especially when they introduced the Hardy Boys and they gave them a real big chance in order to do a lot of things, man. The New Day was very, very monumental. It was very, very. It was a great stable for the PG era. It was a great stable for the PG era. It was that combination of seriousness and comedy, and I think that's what they needed during that time. Him, Xavier Woods, and Big E were a stable, and that was something special to behold.
I agree. Probably when he first started his career, winning Intercontinental Champion, I love that. But just his high flying ability, I love his in ring champ. I mean, at his prime, he was one of my favorite exciting wrestlers to watch. I mean, he had tremendous in ring ability. But I love the fact that Triple H called him out for the fake Jamaican accent. That was my favorite one, man.
Oh, let's not forget the Battle Royal where his feet never touched the floor. And
Yes,
he
that one
got
too.
into the chair and just hopped over and then got back in the ring. So,
And last but not least, favorite Jay-Z track.
oh man, one of the Mike Jordan of recording.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Dead Presidents, Dead Presidents, The Takeover.
Okay.
Uh, Brooklyn's Finest.
Biggie.
I love the dough, just like you.
Mm-hmm.
Money Cash. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
The Blueprint 2.
Girls, 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 girls,
Yeah.
girl, I do adore.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Dream. It was all a dream. Got a dream, I said, about who he said, about big, I said.
Song
Show,
cry.
yes, show him what you got. One of the most underrated songs, Poppin' Tags. That one was good on the Blueprint 2 album. I don't think that album gets as much credit as it needs to. That double disc album was great. Two back-to-back classic albums. Blueprint 1 and Blueprint 2 was good. Those was one of those those are one of those. The Blueprint 1 was one of those no skip albums. I mean, you literally get into your car, you put the CD in back when we had CDs, and you just let the whole thing ride until it runs out, and then you might feel the urge to play it again. Let's not forget about a song that has came out with the great Cardi B, the Reservoir Dogs song, um, Imaginary Players.
Big
Imaginary,
Pimpin'.
yes. Let me see, man. I'm a huge Jay Z fan, man. Jay
Part
Z,
2 on the run.
yes, indeed. I actually went to the On the Run tour. I still got pictures of that.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah, I still actually have pictures of that buried in my phone. I made sure I took a lot of pictures of that because to see Beyonce and Jay Z doing the On the Run tour, Jeezy was there, Lil Duval was there, DJ Khaled was there, a little T-Pain, everybody was there. And then for them to warm up the show and then for them two to take it over, it was nothing short of amazing. So yeah, I've not been to a standalone Beyonce concert, but when I was back in the 2010s, I did go to the On the Run Part 2 concert. That was something special to behold. Uh, I think Story of OJ, very very damn good.
Yeah.
Story of OJ, ignorant shit. Yes.
Let's
Oh,
not forget Watch the Throne with him
Watch
and
the Throne.
Kanye.
Him and Kanye. Unfortunately, they're not as cool as they used to be, but
But that
you
was a
know,
hell of an album, though.
that was one hell of an album. The whole American Gangster album was good. The whole American Gangster album was good. The album that he showed arguably the most growth was probably American Gangster.
Sure.
You get to see the most growth from Reasonable Doubt to the Blueprint, and that was a lot of growth. And then you finally couple that with 444. that was one of the greatest. Family Feud, that's another one. One of the most underrated songs that Jay-Z ever brought out, You Must Love Me, featuring Kelly Price. You Must Love Me, featuring Kelly Price, because that tells a story. Like, it tells a story when he first started his journey. I'm not gonna say what that journey was. You have to listen to the song. To him having beef with his cousin, and that journey and how it affected other people in his inner circle. And for him to go through that song and say, You Must Love Me, after all of that, then that told the story. But by far my favorite song by Jay-Z is Dead Presidents. I'm not for presidents to represent me. I know he stole that from that hook from Nas, on Whose World Is This? But I say this, that song with the beat by Lonnie Liston Smith, because look, that was a jazz beat. Go look up, to the audience, go look up Lonnie Liston Smith, Garden of Peace. That's where that beat came from. So when you look at how that beat was evolved from a jazz and a relaxing beat, and how it came to a hip hop beat, and how Jay-Z was able to mold that from a jazz beat to a hip hop beat and make it into a classic, you'll see how special that really is. Can I Live was very, very special. Feeling It was special. Ain't No, featuring Foxy Brown, that was special. Jay-Z,
Can I get a what?
yes, him and Ja Rule. Uh, I know it wasn't his song, but forever what will be the most special song ever when you it's Blackout on Flesh of My Flesh and Blood of My Blood in on DMX's
Yeah.
album. I sleep whole well and wake up and split summer, get on putting up Will Smith numbers. That and it was him, it was the Locks, and it was DMX. So you knew it was going to be a classic when they got on there. Def Jam during the 90s and the early 2000s, powerhouse, and Jay-Z was a big part of that. I know everybody likes to undersell him now because history is really not kind to the most. I will say history is not kind sometimes to the most profitable. I will say when you are the most profitable artist, then the narrative kind of changes when it comes to you. When you're winning, much like Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, history is not kind, because guess what? They try to go back and try to discredit you and disparage you as much as they can. But Jay-Z in his peak was something to behold, man. I mean, classic album after classic album. You might have had an album or two that may have not been critically acclaimed, but I think that, in my opinion, I don't think Jay-Z put out a bad album that I could really say that was horrible. The only one that I really had a problem with is like the Life and Times of S. Carter, not the Life and Times of S. Carter, but Volume 1. But even that was a classic when it first came. Even that was a classic when you look back on it. Although people are going to criticize him for trying to be another hip hop mogul, which we won't say his name, because he had the video Sunshine with Babyface. If you really look at that album, You Must Love Me was on that album. You had Reservoir Dogs on that album. You had a lot, you had a lot on that album that you had that song with Juvenile with him on that album. So yeah, man, we got to give credit where credit is due, man. Plus the growth from him just being an artist to teaming up with Dame Dash and Kareem Biggs, to him being now a powerhouse, working with the NFL, working with sponsors, working on trying to get his own casino, working at one point to be one of the minority owners of the basketball team, the Brooklyn Nets. That just goes to show you he was what he said. I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman. And if we can learn anything from Jay, man, you can segue and make your way from one thing to another. He's a flat out businessman. And for him to go from being a hip hop artist to a hip hop mogul along with his partner Dame Dash and Kareem Burks to now being a billionaire, working with the NFL, working with the NBA, working with the city of New York in order to bring in a casino, to have one of the most popular clubs, which I still have dreams of going to, the 40 for 40 club,
You got to
to
go
go
to that.
watch to go watch sports. I that's my dream, to come to New York and go and watch the 40-40 club, get me one of these little booths or whatever, invite my people down and us have a good time. I got to go there one day, but for them to have that, and for you to come from being a hip hop artist, which everybody doesn't reach that plateau. We've seen a lot of guys become rappers and just keep being rappers. But for you to come from being an artist to a billionaire, rubbing elbows with Robert Kraft, rubbing elbows with politicians, rubbing elbows with some of the most powerful people in the world, I have to give you credit where credit is due, because you saw that your business was more than just the music, more than just clothes, more than just the culture. So I got to give you credit where credit is due. Sean, Mr. Carter, we call you Mr. Carter for a reason. The real President Carter, in the great words of T.I. from down south, the real President Carter, Jay-Z. So, hey, man, I got to give you credit where credit is due. People might try to say, you're not the GOAT or what have you, and people are entitled to their opinion. But to me, the fact that you elevated yourself from being just an artist to being a mogul, to being a multi-billionaire, rubbing elbows with the elite, I have to commend you for that, because where you started is not where you ended.
I agree, champ. I mean, Jay-Z, obviously, where he is, not only just as a rapper, but also as an entrepreneur. And of course, he and Beyonce, the hip hop couple that they are. So when I look at Jay-Z tracks, Excuse Me, Miss, Poppin' Tags, Girls, 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 99 Problems, I Know. I mean, those are some of my favorite tracks from Jay-Z. But my brother, you need to talk to my older brother Mark. He loves Jay-Z, particularly with his wordplay. He was trying to make arguments to me that how Jay-Z was the greatest rapper in his eyes. But I just love Jay-Z not only with his wordplay, but also too, man, just the business side of him, showing that you could do more than just be a musician. To your point, Champ, how he was able to connect with a lot of great people who are businessmen, entrepreneurs, politic figures. I mean, you seen him with Jerry Jones, you seen him with Robert Kraft, you seen him. I mean, remember I think he was a part of the Brooklyn Nets as well.
Yes, he was part of Brooklyn Nets as a minority owner, and
Yep.
he had season tickets for life. In fact, there's a 40-40 club still in
Yes,
that
still.
building.
And you got to
So,
go there. I've been there a couple of times. It's a really good spot.
yeah, hey, I got to make my way to New York. That's the only place. That's one of the few places that I've always been shy about going there, man. I know I go to Atlanta a lot, but New York, that's the big time. But yeah,
People are wild there though. I'm just
yep,
letting you know.
I understand that, man. But I always want to see.
Good thing they won't mess with you. I mean, after
Probably,
all.
I don't know too many people gonna walk up on a 350-pound man, but I mean, there's some crazy cats out here. In the great words of my grandfather, there's some guys out here that eat the soles off your feet with your shoes on. But I'm just being real. So, but I love to go to New York and see how beautiful the city is, man. I only wish I could have got to see New York back doing the strong the hip hop era when it was a little bit stronger, because I always had aspirations of getting older and going to the tunnel and listen to Funk Flex drop some bombs and stuff like that, man. But the great city of New York. Yes, I do not like the Yankees, but I've always wanted to go to New York. I got to make my way up there. But hey, just being real, man. Once people criticize, Jay and Beyonce, once you get on certain levels, you're gonna be dealing with people that the masses don't like. That's just an unfortunate fact of life. I know that once be yourself, we're gonna be dealing with people that the masses doesn't particularly like. We're gonna have to meet them. gonna have to rub elbows with them. Now we're not necessarily gonna have to do business with them, but you're gonna rub elbows and be around people that you don't necessarily that the masses doesn't necessarily like. Does that mean you're dealing with them? Absolutely not. But when you are in an elite class, there's not too many billionaires in this world. There's a lot of millionaires in this world. There's not a lot of wealthy billionaires in this world, especially when you come from the background as far as being a rapper is concerned, as far as being with being Jay-Z. You know, not too many rappers have become billionaires. You've seen sports stars become billionaires. You haven't seen a lot of rappers become billionaires. So when you're dealing with the elite of the elite, you're going to be meeting a lot of people that a lot of folks just don't particularly like, and you're going to get criticized about that. So, I mean, I don't blame you on that. Everything is about business. And guess what, man? I'm not going to be mad at you because you're handling business. I might not agree with it, but it's business at the end of the day, and business is good.
In the words of B.I.G., the notorious B.I.G., more money, more problems. And jealousy and envy comes with the territory.
Yeah. Like I said, I know when we get to a certain level, we're going to be dealing with some people we don't particularly like, and that the masses doesn't particularly like, and people are going to have their assumptions about it, and it
But
is
that
what it
shouldn't be our
is.
concern, though. That
But
shouldn't be our concern or problem. Look, if people just mad, hey, look, that's the part. That's the nature of business. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
exactly, and you're going to be meeting a lot of people that people don't like, man. Look, do you think? Look, I think a certain mogul said it best. You don't always have to like a person, but just do business and just leave that other stuff where it's at. The emotions are not involved, but you just got to put everything into perspective. And guess what? Business is business. This is about money. And when you get to a certain level, certain things don't matter except one thing, that cold hard cash. That's all that matters in certain rooms that you walk into. Is that cold hard cash. As long as you got enough cash, you can deal with anybody in certain rooms. I'm just gonna be real with
No doubt about that. But that concludes the rest of the Sports PSP podcast. Big fella, any final words before we wrap up the show?
you. On a serious note, taking off the costume for the night, man. You know, I like to entertain y'all, make sure y'all are entertained, but I gotta be serious right about now. Uh Look, everybody, be careful. Out here, it's very, very volatile. And I want to encourage y'all to love your families and hold each other as close as possible. I want y'all to be safe. I want y'all to be careful. And I want you to watch how you move and watch how you step, because one wrong move can set off a big chain reaction that we don't really need right about now. So tread carefully. Not asking you to, kiss nobody's bottom, but I'm asking you to tread carefully, because one wrong move and a landmine could go off. So I ask for y'all to be careful, circle your loved ones, surround them with your love and your prayers, and be safe out here. And always be able to read the room and know where you are. It ain't where you're from, it's where you're at, people. And I salute all of y'all for watching every single week. I'm glad I'm able to be a part of it. It's a privilege, a pleasure, and an honor to be on here with PSP every single week. But I just want y'all to be very, very careful. College football is coming on. Drink responsibly and be careful. Tread lightly. Don't go out here being reckless. That's the last thing you need to do right now. But I salute you, and big shout out to PSP, BRF Sports. I need you back here next week. I see you Sunday. But hey, I salute you, PSP 130K. You worked your ass off, and I'm damn proud of you, man. Like the brother that you are to me, man. This is my brother to my left. This is not just a guy I do podcasts with or just so happen to do content with. This is my damn brother. So, you speak it on him, you speak it on me. Just understand that, by the way. So I salute you, PSP. Keep doing a damn good job. Salute.
Thank you, brother. Shout out to you. Shout out to a lot of people who's helped me along the way with the podcast, and we just going to continue to keep it going. On a serious note, just people, just please be responsible. Please be safe. If you're gonna drink, but drink responsibly. Have a good time. Just be with friends and family. Watch some good football. There's some WNBA playoffs. Go check on that. A lot of great things to look forward to, man. But champ, big fella, always appreciate you doing the podcast with me. Thank you to everyone tuning in to watching the pod. Make sure y'all stay safe, and we is out. Peace.